It's not muted. I didn't mute it, but it did say that I had no sound. That's what I was actually saying, that you guys couldn't hear. I was like, "Hey, can you guys hear me? Can we hear me now? All good?" I don't the thing is I don't know. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, new subscriber as well. Thank you for the compliments on the color scheme. This is a if anybody watches Last Chance U, um when I first started streaming, I talked about Last Chance U, and somebody that worked there, I don't know, I'm trying to remember her name. Sorry, if you're here, raise your hand. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names. But they sent me this hat. This is from Independence Community College in Independence, Kansas, the Pirates. So if you've watched The Last Chance U, that's where this hat is from. Jay, what in the hell happened with the Saints? I don't know, like the Mormon Saints. I've got my smart eyes on. Yeah, the sun is directly in my eyes right now, and so I had to put on my glasses. But I also thought maybe if I wore glasses today, it would soften up my look for the Trumpies if they wanted to come in. Who knows? Thank you. Google Glasses. I need some Google Glasses. You know what? Somebody else has. Uh, Javon has these glasses. I saw it the other night. I was like, oh damn, we have the same one. I call him my Dwight Schrutes. He pulls them off. I just look like older. Trumpets are on one today. uh, good. I do you guys saw? Did you guys see Tommy's video about that? If not, let's play it. If Jen, if you've got it, send it to me. Let's just play it anyways, because it was interesting. Like I thought what he had to say was kind of interesting. Sorry, I got to reset the GIF goal there. That was how did that number even show up? Which is a good time to remind. If you'd like me to read a message to the group, you can send a donation in the message to those pay links that are it's other side right there. I'll gladly read it. We have a goal of $169 every day to keep this thing running, and it's a scientific number. That was a real number that we didn't just make up to be funny. Make sure I've got both of them working. There we go, man. Sal, Sal got in here first. Sal, I gotta be honest. Before I read this comment, I know I'm late. Like I know I'm a couple minutes late most of the time. But today I was actually on time, but and I was eating a banana, and I was like, I'll just start the live, and then I was like, if I eat a banana in front of Sal, like all hell's gonna break loose. So that's actually why I was a couple minutes late today. Sal says I like the colors today. Cream is my favorite shade. Oh, Jesus. See, I was right. I was right. I was absolutely right. I can even show you. Look. There's the banana peel. It's gone. Sorry, Sal. That's how we're starting shit off today. All right, I'm gonna play Tommy's video actually. I feel like this is becoming like a Tawny or a Tommy fan account. But if you guys didn't see this, I just thought it was interesting. I don't know. You swallowed it. Shut up. I don't know if Tommy's right, but and maybe this is like maybe this is where I need your help. Like I was in a cult. I am susceptible to believe like stories over facts. And I'm just gonna preface this by saying like what Tommy's saying. I don't know if he has facts for. I can't think of any, but it makes a whole lot of sense when you pay attention to like who the guests we've been having lately and like their strategy. It does feel like Tommy's onto something. So we're gonna start off with some left-wing conspiracy theories this morning, but I enjoyed it.
A little bit. And that's different for me because every election cycle I have doubt.
Sorry, let me start.
And every time a new poll comes out showing that I'm not concerned about the polls. Not even a little bit. And that's different for me because every election cycle I have doubt. And every time a new poll comes out showing that Donald Trump is winning, usually it makes me more convinced he's going to lose. And I know that sounds weird, but a lot of these polls have different demographic groups showing up for Trump at rates that they never have before. Like with younger voters, 18 to 29, a lot of these polls are showing that they're going to make up an even smaller percentage than they did in 2020 and 2022. Or that they're far more likely to vote for Donald Trump this election than they have in the previous ones. With black voters, a lot of these polls are showing that Donald Trump is getting 20 to 30% of the black vote, despite the fact that it's been 10 every time he's ran. And all of that is happening while he's losing support among non-college educated.
I really hope this is the right video. I really hope so. At some point, I think he's going to talk about the people he's been debating, but I might have the wrong video.
Voters. Yes, I said that right. He's losing support among them. A lot of these polls are predicated on things that have never materialized. In 2020, black voters were showing 22 to 24 support for Donald Trump.
It's the wrong one.
Donald Trump got 10. And that's before we even get into the fact that Harris has a significantly better...
I should probably blame my description of the video, but instead I'm going to blame Jen. Jen, if you find it, it's one where he's talking about like the people that he's debating and like the pattern he sees with the people that he debates every day. So, but yeah, he might be right. I don't, but it is a conspiracy theory about the people calling in to debate. Let's see if she found that one. I don't think it's any of those ones, Jen. I don't think so. It is this one for sure. Let's see.
I think the Trump polling surge is manufactured, and I think I know how.
This is the one.
I stream debates 5 days a week on TikTok.
All right.
And about a month ago...
All right, sorry guys.
I think the Trump polling surge is manufactured, and I think I know how. I stream debates 5 days a week on TikTok, and about a month ago, debates dried up. Prior to that, it had been super vitriolic, angry Republicans coming in to scream, shout at me, and then leave. But one day, a month ago, 3 weeks ago, is really where it tapered off. Debates just sort of stopped. I was going days with having 1 or 2 debates. It was really bizarre. I promise this is all relevant. And then, about 2 weeks ago, week ago even, debates started to pick up. They really started to pick up. Okay, we're getting closer to an election cycle, but there was a problem. The debates that I was getting was not really that many.
Guys, by the way, Jen put his name up there. Mods, if we could pin it. I doubt there's people that are following me that aren't following Tommy. His account is massive, but I am using his video technically for my content. So if you're not following Tommy, we make sure that you are and look for him live at night so that he doesn't get mad at me for using his content. Thank you.
Any super stringent Trump supporters. Like there are, but a lot of them were more moderate. more moderate people coming in. Oh, I just don't think Harris is a good leader. I'm leaning towards Trump, that type of rhetoric. And it didn't really click as to what was happening. Why am I talking to more moderates? And I had said this on live a few days ago. Like, why am I talking to more moderates? This is not something that I've done. I've streamed debates for 4 years. And it's not something that you run into a lot. You usually run into strict opposition. And then a few days ago, I saw a comment on my video. And the comment was, my whole family's Democrat. We voted Democrat in the past, but we just don't think that Harris is a good leader. We don't think that she's done enough to sway our votes and that type of thing. And I was like, okay, well, that's weird. Like, that happens. It's rare that it happens, maybe one out of a few thousand comments. And it just sort of stuck with me as being odd. And I didn't really put the dots together until it happened again yesterday. My whole family is Democrat, but we're voting for Trump. We just don't think that Harris is a good leader. And then when the person explained why they were voting for Trump over Harris, it just didn't make any sense. Well, Rose protected in my state, so I don't, and if the government wanted, it was just like something, it's not anything a Democrat would ever say. And I know I've talked to a lot of them, and that is when it clicked. I'm putting up the sourcing as best as I can so that you guys understand that I'm not like just inventing this. There are enormous bot farms on both sides promoting specific candidates.
I have something to add at this point. One, you may have seen Mr. Global's video a couple, and I don't know if he shared who offered to pay him, but somebody reached out to Mr. Global and offered a significant amount of money, I want to say like $1,000 to $2 or $2,000 per post if it talked specifically about certain talking points and was complimentary. Now, I can imagine that happens, like Tommy says, on both sides. I've never been offered money. I'm just gonna level with you now. Like, even going to that event I went for with Jasmine Crockett, and then after going to the Kamala rally, I actually felt a little weird about it. I felt like if I was going to try and remain neutral and not be like just like somebody that worked for the DNC, maybe I shouldn't be going out and promoting their events. I can visit them or whatever, but like I felt weird about that. So I don't know if I would take money, but there's definitely people getting money. And I only brought up Mr. Global to say that I don't think this is exclusively on the right. I think it happens to left-leaning content creators as well. But I do know that I heard some weird shit last night uh, on Jeffrey, who got Wi-Fi long enough, apparently, to go live with Older Millennial, but not all of us. Nobody, no time to spend with us. He'll just go hang out with Older Millennial. I think Jeffrey deserves some criticism for that. He left us all hanging. But Older Millennial said some crazy shit, a lot of shit about Israel and Palestine that was just nonsense. But then he was like, hey guys, I just got to say it. Like, why is Vladimir Putin a bad guy? Why is Vladimir Putin the bad guy? What's wrong with Vladimir Putin? It was so weird. And then it was like, boom, that's like, is that Tenet Media? And with all these creators, this is what's tricky in identifying like even these debaters, is you never really do know. But a lot of the rhetoric sounds exactly the same, and that's what Tommy's saying. Like, when a lot of Republican creators are like softening Putin, when a lot of them are coming out and saying like, we're not really big on Trump, but we're undecided, it tells me that Harris is doing well with the never Trumpers, the moderate Republicans, and Trump's team or people running PACs or people looking at data say, shit, we need to get some of those people back. So we got to pull some of those people back from the middle. Maybe we'll send out some people who are more moderate, who like don't worship Trump, but they're like, but he really is the best option.
This is from this year. The FBI is investigating, is trying to disrupt Russian bot farms. In 2016, Russians promoted division. They split the left. They attempted to get people to not show up to vote for them, to be mad at Hillary Clinton, and it worked. In 2020, they did a very similar thing. They used division, and in this election, up until a month or so ago, they were using division. The problem was, it wasn't working anymore. And I know that people won't touch this topic. They won't touch it for the most part because for middle-of-the-road voters, they don't really know Donald Trump's ties to Russia. They don't really know how.
By the way, I think what he's talking about there, and I agree, is the division that has been sowed specifically targeting the protest vote. One of our friends, Erica, came up and said, she's still struggling with if she can put her name next to Kamala. I thought about this for a long time last night, and I've come to this, like, everybody should be able to vote who they want to vote for. If you want to protest vote, protest vote. But if you're protest voting and you're not thinking about the implications of your protest vote, and you're not thinking about the strategy long term and what this means in the near term versus the long term, then I've got a problem. Because if you're in Michigan, and let's say these polls are to be believed, and it's going to come down to a couple thousand votes. Let's say it's Florida. Let's say it's what was the one that we just had that was close forever? There was a Senate race in Nevada that took like 4 weeks to count. But let's just say that it is close. And let's say that you decided not to vote for Harris and you voted for Jill Stein instead. And Trump wins Michigan, Trump wins the presidency. Well, your protest vote was to say, like, I can't support somebody who supports the actions of Israel. I get that. But what's like, and I hate the like what's better options, but here's the options. Here's what happens if depending on how you vote. If you vote for Harris and she wins, you have a little bit of leverage where you can force Democratic leaders to be more tough on Netanyahu, right? You have some leverage there, and you can hope that a Harris administration is different than a Biden administration, and you can shift them left. That's probably your best case scenario. If you vote for Stein, it doesn't matter. Stein won't ever do anything. She's not going to get anything accomplished. She has no sway. Even if she gets 5% of the vote, all that really gives her is ballot access, but it doesn't give her any more credibility, and it doesn't give people really any leverage. If you vote for Stein and Trump wins, the Palestinians will be obliterated. That's worth, like, if you're just looking at the options ahead of you and saying, like, which option, like, long term, which one is going to give me the best results? You can't say I'm voting for Jill Stein because of her position on Palestine, and I don't like Harris and I don't like Trump. If you're doing that, especially in a state where it could swing the election, you've at least got to be honest that you care far more about your protest vote than like what's the most sensible solution or the better of the solutions. Right? One, if Trump wins, bye-bye Palestine. One, you've got a chance. I would take the chance. That's one of my issues with protest vote. And Tommy's right by saying, like, they can't really, like, that protest vote is what it is now. It's not growing. It's shrunk. It's not an effective strategy anymore. The country has largely left like the campus protests. They don't care about that anymore. So Tommy's right. Like, that's where the division was attempting to happen. You had RFK running as a division candidate. He's out there running like anti-vax, but saying he's liberal, right? These were divisions. There was money being pumped there, but largely that's like RFK stepped down. He's part of the Trump campaign now. And the Israel-Palestine stuff, like, they found their market. It's not growing anymore.
How involved Russia was and is in our election system. So the obvious answer is, haha, you believe that, and it discredits that. And me making this video right now makes it so that people will go, you believe this. And then the average middle of the road voter doesn't know whom to believe. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, which is also why I'm including the sources. It's just such an easy topic to attack from the opposition, so nobody really wants to touch it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But I think that those bot farms had figured out that they need a new approach. And that approach is targeting moderates, is attempting to appeal to moderates by saying, well, Harris is just not a good leader. They're doing it in clever ways as well. I've gone through comment sections and seen people that are supposedly Democrat going, well, I hope she wins, but there's a lot of support out here. My Democratic neighbor just voted. I'm reading a ton of those. Contrary to what people believe, if someone is blowing out the other person in the polls, it doesn't mean that, oh, people aren't going to show up to vote for that person, because there is a bandwagon effect. People want to be a part of something. And the momentum was very clearly in Harris's favor. But now they've attempted to shift that momentum. Well, she doesn't have as much support. Well, it's not a bandwagon thing. They're trying to suppress the vote in that way. All of this is happening in tandem with polls being dropped by Republican pollsters that have Donald Trump way ahead of where he was just a few weeks ago, where literally nothing has changed. I can't say that the Trump campaign is working with Russia. I can say that these two things are happening in tandem. I can say that at least one of these pollsters is working with the Trump team. I can say that Trump has had at least 7 calls with Vladimir Putin since he left office.
You can also say that these pollsters, some of these same pollsters, people like Nate Silver, they also have a monetary stake in Polymarket. And they're pumping money into places like Polymarket, and maybe they're even betting on the other end. I don't know, but Tommy's definitely onto something here. Like the reach of Russian disinformation is much further than we knew. Remember, I think it was on Friday we talked about Trudeau testifying in front of Canadian Parliament saying, yeah, like we've got a massive list. It's actually on both sides, and Jordan Peterson is one of them. We know Tim Pool's one of them. Tim Pool's doing this weird thing now. I don't know if you know about this. Remember, Tim Pool was getting like $200,000 a week from Tenet Media, and he expanded his operations, and he went out and he built a skate park, which is fucking weird for a guy like nobody knew was like a skateboarder in his mid 30s. But anyways, yesterday he's saying he's leaving X because of the block button, or I guess last week he's leaving X because of the block button. Yesterday on his show he said I'm shutting it down. I'm working too much. In the same sentence where he says I'm working too much, he also says I skateboard every day, and he's like I'm working 16 hours a day. It's not that we don't have money; we have plenty of money. I just don't enjoy it, so we're going to scale back down to a 2-person operation. They had 30 employees and a massive compound. You don't think that when Tim Pool got caught taking Russian money, and then like 3 weeks later, he's like, I got to shut it down to just 2 people, me and a producer. That's it. Like we've got to cut costs. Like that's not a coincidence. Yeah, no, that money's drying up. That money's drying up for him because he got caught. So now he can't take that money anymore. But there's still a lot of money being passed around, people we don't even know about yet.
And I can say that Trump definitely said this. They are panicking because, the votes are coming in, and they're coming in very early, very strongly in a certain way. I won't tell you what way that is. Again, I can't say that they're working together. There just isn't the evidence to that. But in my opinion, I'm watching as the American political race is becoming more moderate. And that's what Trump needs, is he needs moderate voters. I think what we're watching right now, mostly what's provable, is that there are bot farms on both sides that are fighting each other in our comment sections across all platforms. Harris is simultaneously incredibly liked, but also failing in the polls. Donald Trump there's no redeeming qualities. Everything being published about the guy is bad, and we all know about it, but also he's surging in the polls. And almost certainly the Harris campaign knows that this is happening, but how do you call it out, right? Because then you run into the same stuff from 2016 into a lot of middle of the road voters. It feels like petty politics. And if the Harris campaign doesn't know this or doesn't suspect it, that's an even bigger problem. And I'm open to someone proving me wrong. I'm open to someone changing my mind, right? Where, that doesn't make sense. But from what I'm seeing, the disappearance of the divisive bots, the emergence of moderation, tells me that at bare minimum, Russian bots are attempting to appeal to moderate voters by showing that Harris doesn't have the support that she does.
All right, that's basically it. I'll get Tommy off my screen here so it doesn't look like I'm hosting a Irish live about Tommy. That's my nightmare. My nightmare is I scroll through TikTok and I see my picture on Irish's live. It's like, what did I do? Yeah, look, I think that when you look at some of the people that we've had and the discussions that we've had, even yesterday, I thought yesterday I told the guy that I thought it seemed fishy, but you noticed that like he wanted to just play middle of the round. Like he wanted to have this extended long conversation where we ended the conversation saying like, "Oh, I'm glad we can, we can agree to disagree, but for the most part Americans are Americans and we got to stick together." That's where they want to end. It's like, no, one of these guys is an absolute lunatic. Like if we were comparing Obama and Romney, if we were comparing McCain and Obama, or Bush and Gore, it's like they're all pretty similar. Like they weren't that far apart. Like politically, yes, but in the real world, not that far apart. The difference between Donald Trump and any other candidate is miles. Like even the most insane candidates, people like Ted Cruz or Vivek Ramaswamy, like even by comparison, they look pretty tame. So I hate that. I hate the people come. I hate that people are trying to change the narrative now to like moderation, and I don't like that people are being tricked by moderation. That's what happened to my family. They're like, yeah, we don't like all the crazy stuff, but we got to do what's best for our country, and what's best for our country apparently is to elect a madman. I have Jen checking on. Apparently, Harris is going to speak about. What was it? Um, John Kelly. Is that his name? John Kelly? Is it John Kelly? So I've got Jen watching that. John Kelly, yeah. And so if she goes live, we'll go live with her. I don't know where she is today. Somebody said in the comments, Jen, that it was in front of her house. I don't know, but apparently she's about to go live. I can probably just check Twitter real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it. If it comes up, if one of you guys sees it while we're live, just let Jen know if Jen doesn't see it. I don't know where she is today. Let's hop into it though. Let's hop into the show today. First, I wanted to show you that Trump had some people at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. They were invited by Eric Trump. One of the people that showed up was Scott McKay. He's speaking at that Reawaken America event thing that I showed you yesterday, the Jim Brewer comedy. And somebody had this clip from The Good Liars from, I think, a couple years ago. Apparently, they interviewed this man who is now a public speaker. And I just put this is the caliber of human that Trump's bringing to Mar-a-Lago.
You hear Elon Musk talking about us.
Oh, she's live? Okay, let me look. Sorry, I'll show that after. Get to YouTube. See if I can find it. You said on MSNBC? I am not finding this. Where's the live? Sorry, guys. I don't see it. She's live. Just Jen. Oh, Jen has it. Okay. Thank you.
So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants.
I sent it to you.
He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
That was terrific. Shit. Can we rewind? I guess we could rewind. That was short.
The law, or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
Yeah, succinct. that actually, we didn't plan that. Kamala and I didn't have a phone call today, but it appears she's led us directly into what we're talking about today. So I'll skip that video I was going to watch. I came across a Seth Abramson tweet, and this is going to take multiple days, but this is essential. This is what the tweet was. This is titled 100 Reasons Not to Support Donald Trump in One Image. And he has 100 reasons here. This is from his Substack. By the way, to everybody from the Jones raid, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Kamala and then I forgot. Thank you. It's good to have you here. Tell Jones I said I love him. It's not, but thank you for being here. So I'm actually going to go through these 100 reasons. Not all of them have citations needed. Not all of them are written in a way that I would 100% agree with. But 100 reasons, like sensible reasons for why you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. I do need to read some comments first. Haley says, for so long for now, it's been fun. Oh, Haley's gone. Bye, Haley. Please come back. Sal says, how much to see you eat the banana on live? I'm not doing that. I don't know if there's a number, to be honest. I have no idea. Bob says, how many golfers does it take to screw in a light bulb? 4! It's pretty good, Bob. I like that one. Appreciate it. Jen, I got your test Venmo. Jen says, I'm registered at Amazon, whatever that means. Brian, where the f are we? What the f is wrong with these people? I don't know, man. I have no idea where we are. All right. So this is the list. I'll leave that, blow that up a little bit so you can see it. But I just want to go. Number 1, Trump is a grapist. This is a link here from Washington Post, just as a reminder here. After Donald Trump was found liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll, his legal team and his defenders lodged a frequent talking point. Despite Carroll's claims that Trump had raped her, they noted the jury stopped short of saying he committed that particular offense. Instead, jurors opted for a second option, sexual abuse. This was a grape claim. This was a grape case all along, and the jury rejected that, made other findings, said Joe Tacopina, Trump's lawyer. Unfortunately, as we know, the judge found differently. The finding that Ms. Carroll failed to prove that she was raped within the meaning of the New York penal law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her as many people commonly understood the word. He added, indeed, as the evidence at trial recounted below makes clear, the jury found that Mr. Trump, in fact, did exactly that. It's a good reminder. It's crazy that that's not enough. It's crazy that our list has to go past that, right? Like, he went to court, there was a jury, they said you did it, and then they're just like, yeah, that's fine. What other reasons could you possibly, like, is that it? Is that the only reason not to vote for this guy? No, but it should have been. It definitely should have been. Trump is a felon. Found this cool chart in this NPR article. Just this helps, like, put a picture in your head for if you're debating this with your family. These are the 34 felony counts in Trump's hush money trial. He's guilty on 11 charges of invoices for legal services, 11 charges of checks paid for legal services. See how those match up? 11 and 11, they were perfect. That means that they had the check, they had proof that the invoice was illegitimate, and they put those together. And 11 out of 11 times, they're like, "Yep, this meets the criteria." And then 12 out of 12 on ledger entries for legal expenses. This is a really cool article. If you're in the Discord, you can find these sources. We post them in there. If you're not in the Discord, what the hell are you doing? Join the Discord. You get all these. But this goes through point by point, like each count and exactly what it is. Has the check numbers, the voucher numbers. Really, really cool breakdown. But again, that should probably be enough. It should probably be enough that he is civilly liable for sexual abuse, and also multiple time felon, 34 to be exact. But that's not enough. If that doesn't work for you, could I sell you on Donald Trump being a sexual predator? That's just, again, reason number 3. Son of a...
We've got a new subscriber.
Damn it. I didn't do Jen's non-paywall thing. Let me try it on Microsoft Edge, see if it'll figure it out. Microsoft Edge is aggressive. Ha! Damn it! All right, son of a... Jen, would you mind finding that article in your little Wayback Machine or whatever it is? Why this behavior's not in line with our policy? How did I... All right, I think... all right. Traffic is throttled today because I showed Tommy's video, I think. Jen, it's article number 3. I'll go on and then I'll come back. A couple here that were not mentioned, or that I didn't bring articles with. He's a corrupt con man who owes $500 million in fines. That'll probably be reduced, but he still owes it right now. He stole classified documents. You can check. With Jack Smith if you don't know about that. His inaction caused 200,000 needless COVID deaths. And then we're here. He lied 30,000 times as president. 30,000 times. And let me just give you some examples of some of the 30,000 lies that he made while president. This is from Washington Post, who I didn't actually know this, so this is cool. Where were we? The final tally of Trump's presidency was 30,573 false or misleading claims, with nearly half of those, just under 15,000, coming in his final year. So he was like, he really ramped up the lies. Like he just kept ramping it up. And by the last year, he got almost half of them in. Washington Post has had a fact checker for 10 years. And they've been doing the same thing for 10 years with Republicans and Democrats. And then Trump came along and they're like, oh my God, there's so much here that we're going to start a weekly feature called What Trump Got Wrong on Twitter This Week. And then that turned into a project for his first 100 days. And then that turned into a database that they maintained for 4 years. Despite, they say, the increasing burden of keeping it up. He was so prolific with his lies that like he recreated a vision for fact checkers everywhere. They're like, shit, we got to keep this stuff in a database. And that is one of the difficult things about covering Trump and debating Trump. There are so many lies that it's hard to like choose one, right? Like you're like, which lie should I use? Which lie will perfectly connect with this example that they're giving me? And then we get stuck like trying to come up with the perfect lie, but there's so many, right? And if you repeat 10 of them, you might as well have said one to MAGA. They don't care. The volume doesn't matter. Yeah, thank you, Jen. I'll get to that one in just a second. An assessment of the fact checker database shows the dramatic escalation in the rate of Trump's dishonesty over time. Trump averaged about 6 lies a day in his first year as president. That seems like a lot. I do feel like that's too much. I don't think you could find, people say look, all politicians lie. I don't think you could find 6 claims a day from any other politician. Unless they're just repeating what Trump said, in which case that could be true. But that was just his first year. His second year, that went to 16 a day. The third year, it went to 22 a day. And then by his final year, 39 claims a day. To put it in another way, it took 27 months to reach 10,000 lies and another 14 months to reach 20,000. He then exceeded the 30,000 mark less than 5 months later. So then another 10,000 less than 5 months later. Oh, Big Boat, you better not derail this entirely. This is for you. What's up, man?
Hey, good morning, y'all. How's everybody?
Yeah, we're just talking about your guy and his lies. What do you think about it?
Yeah. Hey, I think I've decided to vote for Harris, man.
Don't fuck with me.
That's another Republican lie. So just add that to Trump. We'll take it, right?
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, last I checked, she's still a woman. You can't do that.
Dude, so I did. This is pretty cool. I did get on Sheen. I made my first Sheen order the other day. And
I don't know what that is. You're what?
Sheen, it's
Oh, yeah, the app. I've never used it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I bought a Harris Waltz yard sign.
What else does it say on it?
Nothing. I stuck it in one of the guys in the town that I hate the most. Me and my little boy went by and stuck it in his front yard as a joke.
That's not that good of a joke. That's not that good. So you're still going to vote for the... All right, well, you got to drop down then, and you got to listen to this stuff. You don't get to distract from me talking about all the lies he told. You need to listen to this.
No, so I will drop down, but bring me back up. I'd like to talk more about the lower class and like some other real, debatable stuff.
All right.
So I'll come back up later. I need to hop on a call.
Bye.
See.
Diana, I think friendly. If not, you can feel free. You can stay in the box. All right. An assessment of the fact checker database shows the dramatic escalation in the rate of Trump's dishonesty. We covered that. All right. Nearly half of the false claims were communicated at his campaign rallies or via his now suspended Twitter account. Claims about immigration spiked just before the 2018 midterm elections. Did we talk about that? Remember how Trump was so good on the border that while he was president, he was campaigning on Democrats are bad on the border? Remember that? Trump unsuccessfully tried to keep the House of Representatives in GOP hands with exaggerated claims about caravans of undocumented immigrants approaching the border. Then in late 2019, he responded to the uproar over a phone call in which he urged Ukraine's president to announce an investigation of former Vice President Joe Biden with more than 1,000 false and misleading claims on the issue in just 4 months. And this is one of the things that that drives me nuts is even if MAGA believed this, they still don't care. That's the weird, they don't like being called cucks. They've been getting upset about that, so I'll be more kind. But I don't understand really how you got to that point. I mean, Big Boat, maybe later you can come back and tell me how you get to the point where, just as a human being with self-respect, how you can sit there and just let somebody lie to you over and over and over, and you're like, yeah. Hell yeah. Does he say mean shit about trans people? He does? Okay, yeah, then I don't care. Is he lying about trans people too? He is? It's okay. I hate them too. As long as he's lying about the people that I hate, I'm good with it. It doesn't matter. No, I don't think he has self-respect. I'm saying out the voters. Do any of you Republican voters have any self-respect? You all act tough. It's all snowflake this and owning the libs that. You guys don't have enough respect to stand up for yourselves and be like, hey, man, you stop lying to us. Just like, just give me some more lies. I like lies. False and misleading claims about the coronavirus pandemic emerged in 2020, so that by year's end, he had made more than 2,500 coronavirus-related claims. Trump touted phony metrics to claim he successfully defeated the virus, which obviously we know didn't happen. Pitched ineffective cures and constantly attacked former President Barack Obama for alleged failures, such as leaving the bare cupboard of ventilators, there were 17,000, and bungling the response to the swine flu pandemic in 2009, which was considered a success. I don't remember if you guys... Do you remember when we shut down the whole country for the swine flu? Isn't it wild to hear, Trump at the beginning of COVID was like, I'm doing way better than Obama. I don't think that that's what happened. But ironically, like that's where his mind went. Virus showed up. Nobody really knew how to handle it exactly. Trump made mistakes. Everybody made mistakes. But Trump isn't allowed to admit that he makes a mistake. So when somebody points out something that's not going well, he just lies about it. He's just like, I'm going to make up a lie here, or I'm going to say that Obama did it worse, which turned out not to be true. In October, Trump was largely quiet for 6 days as he recovered from his own bout with COVID-19. But even so, he made nearly 4,000 false or misleading claims that month, an average of 150 a day. So he had a record high of 150 lies a day, and that's with 6 days off. He got 6 weeks. He had 6 weeks paid sick leave, by the way. 6 days of paid sick leave. Still setting records. Maybe that's what they mean. Like he really is an overachiever. We love the word. He took 6 days off and still set a record. Is that what you guys made? Had to take the makeup off. Can you imagine after he went to the hospital and he was in a gown? Can you imagine just like the mess of his like neckline from his hospital gown and then the mask just caked? I remember I think it was Cassidy Hutchinson was like, he doesn't wear masks because he's embarrassed when he takes it off that it shows like his foundation and his makeup comes off. So it wasn't even like he actually was afraid of COVID. It almost killed him, but he still didn't want to wear a mask because it would like fuck up his makeup. Or people would be like, oh, look, it's makeup. Yeah, we know it's makeup. After his election defeat, Trump spoke or tweeted about little except to offer lies about a stolen election, even as he or his supporters lost more than 60 court cases, as judges repeatedly rejected his claims as bogus. After November 3rd, he made more than 800 false or misleading claims about election fraud, including 76 times offering some variation of the word rigged election. At January 6th, he made 107 false or misleading claims all about the election. That was remember the day of love? Remember the day of love? What were they calling it the other day? Of joy and love or some shit like that. You just got up there and lied to people until they got so mad they marched to the Capitol. One hallmark of Trump's fibs was his willingness to constantly repeat the same claims no matter how often they get debunked. Sure sign of a sociopath is somebody when everybody knows they're lying and it doesn't faze them. I don't like. If that person existed in your life, you would despise that person. If that was in your friend group, if that was somebody at work, if that was somebody at church, if that was somebody in your family, if anybody in your life acted like Donald Trump, you would hate them. And yet Republicans are like, I love him. I love it. I love it. You would all hate him if you had to work for him. El Rocho Porvita, you can't do that anymore. Our TV farts kills me every time. Sorry. 1/5 of his nearly 2,500 claims about the economy was the same falsehood that he was responsible for creating the greatest economy in United States history. After the COVID-19 outbreak tanked the economy, he amped up the rhetoric to say he had created the greatest economy in world history. Neither claim is true. Under just about every metric, Eisenhower, Johnson, and Clinton had more robust economies during their presidencies. Even before the pandemic, Trump's economy was already faltering because of his trade wars with the manufacturing sector in a technical recession. Like, people like to pretend that had COVID not showed up, Donald Trump would have just continued the world's greatest economy. But one, it wasn't the greatest economy, not even the greatest in the history of our country. And two, it was struggling. He was in the middle of a trade war. Like, if anything, COVID allowed him to not have to take the blame for what was coming. Like, it masked all of that because it dwarfed any problems that Trump would have created. It was kind of a benefit to Trump. If Trump had made it through 4 years, we would have seen like a technical recession. We would have seen, we were bleeding manufacturing jobs. We were losing the trade wars. We were struggling with our farmers. Donald Trump had those attacks on the border and he was trying to limit people coming in, which was affecting our farmers so they couldn't get workers. It was headed for a mess. I'm not going to say like necessarily a recession. It could have been a recession or a depression, But it wasn't going to be like sunshine and rainbows. It's not like he would have been there on the stage running against Biden and we'd be like, "Oh, you can't even talk shit about this." There would have been a lot about the economy that you could criticize. If anything, it helped him. Let me check comments real quick. Take it, Brian. Sal's back. Sal says, "I bet you and I can break Trump's lying record." Sal, my favorite lie is how you act like we aren't in a loving, committed relationship. I love the way you lie. Thanks, Sal. I appreciate you hitting on me every day. Caden says, "Love the show. RTPP." You said PP. Well done, Caden. Nearly 300 times Trump said he passed the biggest tax cut in history. Even before his tax cut was crafted, he promised that it would be the biggest in U.S. history, bigger than Reagan. Reagan's tax cut amounted to 2.9% of GDP, and none of the proposals under consideration came close to that level. Yet Trump persisted in this fiction, even when the tax cut was eventually crafted to be the equivalent of 0.9% of GDP, making it the 8th largest tax cut in the last 100 years. So turns out that's also a lie. Fact checker also tracked 3 or 4 Pinocchio claims. That's tough. You don't want 3 or 4 Pinocchios. That is a lot of Pinocchios. And Trump has said at least 20 times, earning him a bottomless Pinocchio. Trump completed his term with 56 of those, including 3 about rigged election, allegations that Dominion voting machines changed votes, and the falsehood that the GOP poll watchers were denied access to vote counting. The bottomless Pinocchio list gives a rough approximation of the types of major falsehoods. Roughly 25% exaggerated about his accomplishments, 15% misled about his policies, 15% dissembled about the Russia investigation or the probe into the Ukraine phone call, and 10% were fibs made out of whole cloth. He just fucking made them up. Those are the lies he tells that nobody can figure out why he's telling. Like, it stopped raining. No, it didn't. It's raining. It's raining, dude. It's raining out there. That moisture that's rubbing off your makeup, that's rain. Attacks on people he considered foes, falsehoods about the coronavirus, phony claims about the election, or false statements about Biden's proposals. So just an example of the 30,000 plus times that this dude lied. Now, Big Boat, I hope you're still here, and I hope any Republicans who are here that served. Because one question I have for the Republicans who served is, why do you believe Donald Trump, but you don't believe all the military leaders? Because that's one I don't get. You swore an oath to the Constitution. Those same people swore an oath to the Constitution. Donald Trump swore an oath to the Constitution. So how did you decide to become a person who believes Donald Trump over the military leaders? How'd that happen? Because I think the answer is you've already decided who you're voting for. And when you've already done that, then you will justify more things, virtually anything. At this point, what could Trump do that would cost him votes? I don't even know what could cost him votes at this point. If it came out tomorrow that he had sold secrets to Russia, North Korea, and China, his poll numbers wouldn't move. They wouldn't move at all, because there's nothing that anybody can say that Republicans will believe. And that's the part of like Trump that I think is so frustrating. That's the part of this Republican electorate that's so frustrating. Like, how do we ever trust you guys again? How do we ever trust that you guys will put up good candidates? How do we trust that you care about democracy? How do we trust that you care about the Constitution? Every time it comes up on your side, you just call it a lie. Do you at least recognize the damage that you have done to our country, the damage that you've done to the rhetoric? If everything bad that is said about your guy is a lie, even when the evidence is overwhelming, do you recognize what you've done for discourse? Nobody ever has to accept information from our government anymore. News sources. You don't even have to believe like an audio clip or a video of somebody saying something, because we have that with Trump. We have Trump bragging about grabbing women uh, without their consent, and then we've got 30 plus women saying he did that exact thing to me. He did the exact thing to me, and you guys are like, I don't believe he did it. What more proof could we have? If any of those assaults were on video, he'd just come out and be like, yeah, she told me to, and you'd be like, yeah, she told him to, and then they're like, here's the audio, she doesn't tell him to. In fact, she says stop, and he'll just be like, yeah, she told me to backstage, and then you guys will be like, well, she said it backstage, so he didn't know. There is literally nothing that you won't believe at this point. How do you intend on moving on when Donald Trump dies, which is coming up soon? When he dies, and I don't mean that like something bad's going to happen. He's 79 years old, 78, 79 years old, soonish, right? When that happens, how are you going to figure out your next candidate? You have no ability to decipher what's true and what's false. How are you going to figure this out? Why should anybody trust that you guys are going to figure it out? Like we don't it's not like we have liars out here on the left that we're just propping up. Even the ones that get caught, like we pretty much immediately disown them. On your side, if somebody's caught lying, they're like elevated. Somehow Marjorie Taylor Greene did you know she's, of all the people in the GOP, she's the second leading fundraiser? What does that tell you about your party, that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the second leading fundraiser in your party? That means it's not because she's from a rich area. That means there's a lot of fucking lunatics out there who give money. A lot of crazy people give money, or racist, whatever they might be. Julius. What's up, Julius?
Howdy.
Hey, how you doing? Oop, got a little echo.
I'm pretty good, but I think you're looking at it from a wrong perspective.
Sure, go ahead.
One sec. I think the lying and the things that he does wrong are an appeal to them.
Well, that's something I don't think it is to everybody, but yeah, I mean, I think to some people that's an appeal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
It's just that it's starting to feel that way from that side.
Gotcha. Yeah, guys, just doing opposition though. So I saw more people jump in the box real quick. I am just doing opposition, and I don't think we're going to get opposition because our traffic is throttled right now. So we'll see. Let me check comments real quick. Kimmy says, hey Jay, would you consider having a lesbian sister wife? I don't golf, but I'd make a great caddy. You wouldn't have to worry about me playing with your balls. I'm in. Yeah, 100%. This is great news. This is great news for me. Tracy says you can be my Pinocchio. Tracy just constantly begging me to lie to him. Lie to me. Yeah, somebody said, why don't we do friendly? We prepare like actual content. So it's not that I have a problem with friendlies, but there's panels all over places you can go. I think we're a little different as we cover stories. So anyways, now to Trump. We covered, I don't know why people allow him to lie, but why do servicemen and women allow him to say these types of things? This was when Trump was accused of calling American war heroes, losers, and suckers. His high school classmate, who they went to military school together, had this to say. No, those remarks absolutely didn't surprise me. In my dealings with him, he was a heartless, obnoxious son of a bitch. Not a fan. Trump, as a student at the military academy, was known for stolen valor. He would get medals that he didn't earn from the academy Either he would buy them from kids or he would steal them. They don't know where he got them. But he was, multiple people said he would go around with medals and things that he didn't earn. And so when they have found people that went to school with him, they're not finding people that speak highly of him. They say that he's dumb, that he got bad grades, that he was a prick, that he never could have served in the military. Trump's comments appeared to be in line with the attitude he reportedly evinced on Memorial Day 2017 when he visited the grave of First Lieutenant Robert Kelly, the son of his then Homeland Security Secretary and later Chief of Staff John Kelly, who we discussed his comments earlier today, who's calling Trump a threat to democracy. Standing at the grave of the younger Kelly, who died in Afghanistan in 2010, Trump reportedly turned to the secretary and said, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" Now, the question is, why don't you guys believe John Kelly? Why would we not believe John Kelly here? Think in your life. If you're in the military, think of a general, the leader of your battalion. Think of one of your military leaders. How many of them do you think would make up a lie about somebody making fun of their deceased son? Right? Like, why? There's no benefit for him to say this. This doesn't benefit him in any way. He wasn't a political adversary of Trump. Right? 4-star general, gold star. Yeah. Like, what are you saying when a draft dodger is to be believed, but a 4-star general with decades of service and leadership across multiple presidencies, multiple administrations, no problems, didn't talk about any of them the way that they talked about Trump. Why do all these military leaders just all of a sudden start being openly defiant? Historically, military leaders were quiet. I have a cousin who's went to West Point. He's a Apache, I believe, Apache pilot. Could be Blackhawks. I can't remember. I remember in the 2016 election, I messaged him and I just asked him his thoughts on some. I don't remember what it was, and he just said, "Yeah, look, I have thoughts on this, but like as a leader in the military, we're instructed not to share this. Like we can share it with our immediate family, but he said like not even like Facebook messages, text messages, because those often will be weaponized by people in politics, and make it look like we're disrespecting our commander in chief. So it's not the norm. It's not the norm for these people. This doesn't normally happen. Why do they all do this? You don't think it's possible that they see that Donald Trump's actually a threat? Oh, that's to Jason, not to me. Okay. Since taking office, many of Trump's actions have borne out of that oft-repeated skepticism about U.S. military deployments abroad. In 2018, he announced an abrupt withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, even before formally launching peace talks with the Taliban, and said he wanted to leave Syria as well. The whole thing, this is as much about his disrespect for all types of service as about the military, but it was clear to me he saw value in claiming military bona fides. That's the biographer, Michael D'Antonio, that he collected generals. He'd bring in people like James Mattis, H.R. McMaster, John Kelly, who did I miss? And he would say things, he would bring them into meetings. He would talk about his tough generals. It was almost like trophy wife. He would use them as trophy wives. Like he would drag them along to everything. Remember when he marched down to do the picture with the Bible, and General Kelly showed up, and General Kelly, I think it was in his fatigues. And so Trump's like, great, grab General Kelly here and let's go. Or no, it wasn't Kelly. It was Milley. Thank you. Yeah, it was Milley. And he marched him down. And Milley came out later and was like, yeah, I definitely regret that. I shouldn't have done that. But Trump wanted it to look like he and the military were marching down to stand up for Christians. Right? Like he uses and abuses the military whenever he wants. He disrespects them consistently. And yet, there's all these people who served, who are on the right, who apparently don't respect their military leaders, but do respect like a career shitty businessman, con artist. And they're like, we'll just defame all of our military leaders. This is 100%, almost a complete rewrite of what happened in Germany, of what happened in Russia. This is what happens. You discredit the media, you discredit anybody in the military who stands up to you, and then you fill your cabinet with sycophants, specifically rich ones. You'll see a pattern here, maybe where Trump figured this out. Maybe he took some lessons from Russia, but that's what they do. Yeah, like toy soldiers. Yeah, shout out Eminem. Great song. Eminem endorsed Kamala yesterday. That was awesome. Introduced her in Detroit. But yeah, that's a perfect way to say it. That, like little toy soldiers. When it comes to our troops, he didn't protect them either. In Turkey, or in Syria, he just allowed Turkey to shell our troops. U.S. troops in 2019, in the vicinity of Kobani came under artillery fire from Turkish positions at approximately 9 p.m. local. The explosion occurred within a few hundred meters of a location outside the security mechanism zone and in an area known by the Turks to have U.S. forces present. One official told CNN the U.S. does not believe the Turkish shelling near U.S. troops posted near Kobani was an accident and that it was likely designed to chase the U.S. from the area. U.S. has previously announced that it gave Turkey explicit grid coordinate detail of U.S. positions in Syria. Here's what happened. There were negotiations between the Turkish army and our government, and they wanted us to move out of this area so that they could advance into Syria. And all of our generals were like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we're not getting out of the way so the Turks can go into Syria. Like, our job here is to be a buffer. And then Trump, after being complained at by Erdogan in Turkey, or is it Orban? Is it Orban or Erdogan? Which one's... Is it Erdogan or Orban? And I'm mixing up the two names. Which one is Turkey? Erdogan. Okay, I did get it right. How about that? Yeah. And so Trump, after being hounded by Erdogan on Twitter, has this like separate meeting with Turkey and then with Erdogan, and then suddenly they just kind of get out of the way. But because there was resistance, they fired. What they assume happened is Turkey was like, get the fuck out of the way. Like, we're gonna put these within your vicinity, so you couldn't confuse it for us striking somewhere else. And Trump just let it happen. Trump didn't do anything to Erdogan. Didn't go back. Thank you. Orban's Hungary. Thank you. I mix up the two because like Hungary and Turkey, I just always think Thanksgiving and then I'm lost. And I'm like, shit, now I'm thinking about stuffing when I should be talking about world leaders. It's not the first time Trump did that. Remember in Iraq? Remember the people that were shelled, people that had traumatic brain injuries, he's called slight headaches? Akeem Ferguson was in a bunker when his team received the bone-chilling radio transmission. 6 Iranian ballistic missiles were headed in their direction. The concrete slab they had taken cover under offered little protection from projectiles that U.S. troops in Iraq were being attacked with. I held on to my gun, head down, and tried to find a happy place, so I started singing to my daughters in my head. And I just waited. I hoped that whatever happened, that it was quick. I was 100% ready to die, he added. Trump, these are the pictures there. This is what Trump said was no big deal, caused some slight headaches. There's him in the rubble there as they were bunkered down. And why'd they do it? Because Trump went on foreign soil and eliminated a government official, Soleimani. Whatever you want to say about Soleimani, that's fine. But this is in retaliation for what Trump did. And then Trump downplayed it like he always does. So yeah, it's just it just headaches, guys. It's no big deal. What can't you see? Let's get that other. I don't know what you can't see. All right. He supports Russian war crimes in Ukraine. He has said that his plan basically is to cede Crimea to Russia and parts of the Donbass region. What does that say about us as a country, that we allow Russia to invade somebody that we're saying we're there to protect? We let them invade, and then we're like, yeah, you can keep some of it. It's fine. You can keep some of it. Ukraine, just give up part of your land. It's no big deal. No big deal at all. Hold control and scroll wheel to zoom in. Well, if I zoom in, then I can't see it. You don't need to read it. It's fine. He coddles Putin and Xi. Here's a article from the BBC. Let me check comments real quick. Sorry, guys. This is what we're talking Trump all day long. So if this type of content isn't for you, it's going to be most of the day. Han says, "Did you say stuffing? I have something you can stuff. Thank you. Thank you." Susan says, "Love your content." Thank you, Susan. I think I got Kimmy's. Jumar, penis. Thank you, Jumar. Classy. Oh shit. Now why is this not working? What's going on here? Terrific. We're gonna skip that one. I don't know why that's working. How about this? How about when Trump covered up the unaliving of Jamal Khashoggi? This one should have ended his presidency. This 100%. This should have ended Trump's presidency. Trump should have been he should have been removed from office over this. I'm not talking about election. I'm talking about going through the House, impeaching him, and removing him. This was obvious, and most Republicans don't know this story exists. President Donald Trump boasted that he protected Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman after Jamal Khashoggi's brutal murder, from Bob Woodward's book. I think it was Rage, or can't remember which book. Bob Woodward's book. Trump bragged that he protected the Saudi Crown Prince from consequences in the United States after the assassination of Khashoggi in October 2018, the news outlet Business Insider reported on Thursday. "I saved his ass," President Trump said about the U.S. outcry about Khashoggi's killing. "I was able to get Congress to leave him alone. I was able to get them to stop." If you don't know who Jamal Khashoggi is, he was an opinion columnist from the Washington Post. He had escaped, not escaped. He had come to America. There was some political strife, depending on who you're listening to. He came to America. He started working for the Washington Post. He was living in the United States, and he was openly critical of the Saudis. Like, that's what his journalism was. And he was one of the only people that was critical of the Saudis that actually had inside knowledge, because he was actually friends with the Saudi royal family for a long time, until MBS was in charge. Then he became a little bit more critical, specifically that MBS was acting as a dictator, that he was unaliving political dissidents, that he was carrying out crimes against his own people. And so Khashoggi's over here in the Washington Post. He's reporting on this, and the Saudi family basically like cuts a deal for him. They're like, "Hey, come to the Saudi consulate in." Remind me which country the consulate was in. Remind me. Istanbul. Okay, yeah, it was in Istanbul. He goes to the Saudi consulate to obtain a license for his upcoming marriage to fiancée Hatice Sengiz. The Saudis are like, "Hey, why don't you come in and meet with us? We want to talk to you about some positions." They go to the consulate. His wife sits outside in Turkey. Thank you. His wife sits outside. Hours go by. Hours and hours go by. Finally, everybody has come out of the building. The lights get turned off, and she's like, "Oh, fuck." So she goes to the authorities. The authorities at both the Turkish authorities and the Saudi family, they're all saying, like, "Yeah, we don't know. He must have left. He must have left somewhere." Turns out, after long investigations, they snuck him out in a car. They killed him, then snuck him out, I believe, in pieces in a car. I might be wrong about that. And then everybody knew it. Donald Trump knew it, and he protected the Saudis. Yeah, in a suitcase. And now we have this peace deal, right? We have that peace deal, the Abraham Accords, where the Saudis basically are just like investing in these countries. And then Jared Kushner gets $2 billion for an investment. Trump has millions of dollars pouring in from Saudis. He's had millions of dollars in investments from the Saudis. Same people that funded 9/11. And again, this is the guy. We're saying you can be commander in chief. That's fine. We understand that you're allowing people leaving America, going to other places, like they're being murdered, and you're just covering it up. And you also convinced Congress not to do their job because they're so beholden to Donald Trump that he was able to control whether or not we even investigated this, which we didn't do. And it's pretty fucking obvious. Like, nobody even denies it anymore. But that's Donald Trump. That should have ended him. Somebody, I think it was Big Bo earlier, said something about, like, what about Benghazi? You fucking, like, compared to Benghazi, there were mistakes made, but they told that ambassador to leave, and he wouldn't leave. He didn't follow orders. And yeah, they probably could have had a quick strike team, like whatever you want to say about Benghazi, fine. But they planned, and the plan fell apart. It didn't work. But they didn't then go cover it up. They didn't cover for those that attacked the embassy. Trump's out there covering for the people who did the attack. It's completely different. But Trump's is bad. And Hillary sat in front of Congress for hours and hours and hours. I think 8 hours, maybe more than that, testifying about Benghazi. She had the courage to come forward and testify. Donald Trump made sure that he never had to step foot in Congress and testify about anything. He just lied. And the reason he didn't have to do it, because his voters, 11 hours, thank you. His voters don't put any pressure on him. You guys don't ask him to be honest. You don't care if he's honest. There's no pressure to be honest and do the right thing, so he doesn't ever have to do the right thing. Thing is, Hillary wasn't pushed by just right-wingers to testify. She was pushed by people on the left, too. That's why she testified. There was pressure from both sides. You guys don't apply any pressure on your folks to testify. Never. You don't want to get to the bottom of the shit that they do. You just let it go. That's what number is that? That was number 13. We can keep going with the Saudis here. I mentioned it. Donald Trump's cutting business deals while he's president. Son of a... Oh yeah, that's Forbes. That's right. A Forbes article. There was only a couple things in there. Trump has made roughly $2 billion from his presidency. Receipts were way up from before his presidency. When he says, like, my business was hurt by the presidency, it's an absolute lie. $2 billion he made while president. He killed Roe v. Wade. He incited an armed rebellion at the Capitol. He sold U.S. foreign policy for deals in Russia. Now, when I read this, I read it wrong. I was like, did he sell secrets to Russia? I haven't heard this. But no, it's foreign policy. And this is a great article in the Washington Post from 2019. Again, this shit's being reported on while he's president. And there was so much of this that we forget. I forgot so many of these. I read them all at the time. I've forgotten all these stories. There's so much Trump shit. That's why I'm doing this list. Collusion or not, Trump and the Russians are thick as thieves. What I mean is that for more than 3 decades, at least 13 people with known or alleged links to the Russian mafia held the deeds to, lived in, or ran criminal operations out of Trump Tower in New York or other Trump properties. Now, the reason I want to read this story is while I'm reading the story, I want you to think about, like, the parallels of the way that they act and the way that Trump is starting to act in terms of, like, who he's aligning himself with, what industries he's aligning himself with. How does he plan to enrich himself? Let's see. I mean that many of them use Trump-branded real estate to launder vast amounts of money by buying multi-million-dollar condos through anonymous shell companies. I mean that the Bayrock Group, a real estate development company that was based in Trump Tower and had ties to the Kremlin, came up with a new business model to franchise Trump condos after he lost billions of dollars in his Atlantic City casino developments and helped make him rich again. They bailed him out. Why? Why would you bail out Donald Trump? Why would you bail out a guy whose, like, business record is horrific? Why would you do that? You want assets, right? Even Trump the non-politician is an asset to them because he has money, he has notoriety, and he has sway. We know that. We've seen him at dinners with the Clintons. We know he donated to Kamala. He donated all around. Like, he used his money to get political help. He did it all the time. Russian President Vladimir Putin has long insisted that American democracy itself is corrupt. Under his, and now what's Donald Trump saying? American democracy is corrupt. He's just repeating it. He's literally like Vladimir Putin's talking points from 12 years ago. Trump is repeating. They were Putin's first. Putin had them first. Trump's just borrowing them. Under this aegis, the Russians have methodically studied various components of the American body politic, the campaign finance, our legal system, social media, and perhaps especially the real estate industry, and exploited every loophole they could find. As Oleg Kalugin, a former head of counterintelligence for the KGB, told me, the mafia amounts to one of the branches of the Russian government today. Where Americans cracked down on the Italian-American mafia, Putin dealt with the Russian mob very differently. Here's where I want you to pay attention. Where Americans cracked down on the Italian-American mafia, Putin dealt with the Russian mob very differently. This is how Trump's doing it. He co-opted it. He made it an integral part of his mafia state. Russian gangsters became, in effect, Putin's enforcers. They had long and deep relationships. According to a tape recording made by former Russian agent Alexander Litvinenko, a year before he was fatally poisoned in London, Putin had close ties to Semyon Mogilovich, a top mobster that dated back to the early 1990s. Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort. I'm going to say Elon Musk. He's tying himself to people with power who are corrupt. Like the network that he's creating, the outreach that he's created. Somebody, who was it? Yeah, it was Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard yesterday announced that she was joining the Republican Party, and she put out a tweet saying like, I left the Democrat Party and now I'm here. I'm in the big tent Republican Party. And my initial reaction is like, yo, big tent my ass. And then I'm like, wait, yes, it is. It is a big tent. You have moderate Christian conservatives. You have anarchists. You have anarcho-capitalists. You have white nationalists. You have Christian nationalists. Right? Like all these fringe groups they've encompassed, but it's just the fringe right. It is a big umbrella, but where they expanded that umbrella is where we're concerned. And now it's not only that they expanded that umbrella, like they always did. I mean, there were Triple K members up on ballots. What's Huckabee's Mike Huckabee? He was running against, I think, David Duke. And if you remember, there was the endorsement from what's that Louisiana guy's name? I ain't afraid of nothing in my whole life. Nothing scares me but the Lord Jesus Christ. I ain't afraid of no man. That should give it. Who is it? What's the name there? Help me with that. It's bad. Clay Higgins, thank you. Ghostbust Higgins. Ghostbust Higgins is like, yeah, I'm voting for Huckabee because like he has the same message as David Duke, but like the Christians like him. That was Mike Huckabee. That was not that long ago. I remember watching Mike Huckabee on stage debating as a Republican candidate, right? It's not like they didn't exist, but the Republicans had tapped that down. They're like, we're not talking about this publicly anymore. We're not doing the white nationalism stuff publicly. And then Trump came back. He's like, let's fucking do it publicly again. Can we do publicly? Everybody, all the racists, come on out. You're like, we got the big umbrella. Everybody gets to share their opinion, including the racists, which is exactly what Elon Musk is doing. He's appealing to the same people. The people are like, I don't like censorship unless you're like, hey, can you use somebody's pronouns correctly? And they're like, fuck you, you can't tell me. Anyway, the mafia, we covered that. Let's go back to 1984, when David Bogatin, an alleged Russian gangster who arrived in the United States a few years earlier with $3 in his pocket, sat down with Trump and bought not one, but 5 condos for a total of $6 million, worth about $15 million today. What was most striking about the transaction was that at the time, according to David K. Johnston's The Making of Donald Trump, Trump Tower was one of only 2 major buildings in New York City that sold condos to buyers who used shell companies that allowed them to purchase real estate while concealing their identities. Shocker. Trump was like, he was early This happens a lot now, but he was early on it. Trump's like, yeah, I can get money from foreign countries. Yeah, terrific. Let's do it. We can conceal their identities. Yeah, I love it. Thus, according to the New York State Attorney General's office, when Trump closed the deal with Bogatin, whether he knew it or not, he had just helped launder money for the Russian mafia. And so began a 35-year relationship with Trump and Russian organized crime. Mind you, this was a period of time during which the disintegration of the Soviet Union had opened a fire hose like torrent of hundreds of billions of dollars in flight capital from oligarchs, wealthy apparatchiks, and mobsters in Russia and its satellites. And who better to launder so much money for the Russians than Donald Jerometrius Trump, selling them multi-million-dollar condos at top dollar with little or no apparent scrutiny of who was buying them. They saved him. Right? The reason they're showing this is not that in and of itself this is a problem. The reason these stories are important is to build the pattern of Donald Trump relying on Russia and evolving into a person who does Russia's bidding. Whether he's doing it knowingly or not, who knows? But he's doing it. And Republicans, whether you're doing it knowingly or not, you're doing it. It wasn't that long ago that Republicans believed Russia was the number one geopolitical foe, and now they're like, no, they're cool. Russia, by the way, who every time there's some sort of conflict against us, seems to be Russia funding it on the other side. China funding it on the other side. It's ironic that these same people who are like, Russia and China are trying to get off the dollar. You ever heard of BRICS? And then they're like, Trump's going to be the one to fix it. Excuse me, what? How? It seems like he's going to go with it or just get out of the way. Do you think Trump gives a flying fuck about what happens to our country after he's gone? Do you think he worries about his family? Honestly, answer that question honestly in your heart. Do you think he does? I've never seen him show compassion ever. I don't think he has it. I think he would say it, but if push comes to shove, if it's Trump going to jail or the safety of his family, sorry, family. He's probably going to just not go to jail. Anders Åslund, a Swedish economist, put it this way to me. Early on, Trump came to the conclusion that it is better to do business with crooks than with honest people. Crooks have two big advantages. First, they're prepared to pay more money than honest people. And second, they will always lose if you sue them because they are known to be crooks. Turns out that's what happened when you sued Trump. Now he loses because he has a track record of being a crook. See how that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy there? You guys, Republicans are like, why does he keep losing cases? He's been losing cases for decades now. People figured him out. And now the courts are like, yeah, we're not falling for your dumb shit anymore. After Trump World Tower opened in 2001, Trump began looking for buyers in Russia through Sotheby's, which teamed up with a Russian real estate outfit. I had contacts in Moscow looking to invest in the United States. Dolly Lenz told, I don't know who that is. They all wanted to meet Donald. In the end, she said she sold 65 units to Russians in Trump World Tower alone. In 2002, after Trump had racked up $4 billion in debt from his disastrous ventures in Atlantic City, where he bankrupted 3 casinos, the Russians again came to his rescue by way of the Bayrock Group. At a time when Trump found it almost impossible to get loans, Bayrock offered him enormous fees, 18 to 25% of the profits, simply to use his name on its developments. The guy is just coming off a massive failure, and he gets a licensing deal. That's pretty wild. Like he's the biggest failure in the casino industry, and then Russia's like, yeah, dude, we want to use your name. We want to use your name. So how did this all go unchallenged? If you're doing a transaction with no mortgage, there's no financial institution that needs to know where the money came from, particularly if it's a wire transfer from overseas. The customer obligations that are imposed on all kinds of financial institutions are not imposed on people selling real estate. They should have been, but they weren't. So Trump's out here literally like, when you say he's a good businessman, you mean he's laundering money for Russians, right? Like, is that a good? Is it the same thing to Republicans? Maybe it is. Maybe that's what you're saying. Like, laundering money is fine. It's a good business practice because that's how he made all his money, not some of his money, all of it. Like almost everything he's making here is from Russians. He's just laundering money for them. Should we just like anybody who's accused of money laundering, should they just be let out of jail now? And what's America First about that, by the way? Just out of curiosity. This is the America First candidate. If he's so fucking America First, why is he laundering money for Russia? Why does he want Russia to be more powerful if he's America First? He's selling watches now. Another Mogilevich associate in Trump's orbit was Vyacheslav Ivankov, a ruthless extortionist who became renowned as one of the most brutal killers in the annals. Fuck. I'll just check comments now. Lynn says, just finished writing 500 postcards to swing states. I'll just wait for him. I'll just wait. Sergio says, yesterday Owen was saying Russians are not the enemies. He said the Democrats are. Yeah, I referenced that earlier. I heard that same one. Sal probably needs a break. Sal says, I wish you'd tie me up. I think I did that one already, maybe. Megan says, for shits and giggles. Thank you, Megan. Hans, did I do this one already? Yeah, I did the stuffing one. All right, have you guys calmed down yet in the chat? I'm losing my voice. Mogilevich, one of the most brutal killers in the history of Russian crime, had sent him to New York in 1992 with a mandate to consolidate the Russian mafia in the United States and to form alliances with the Cosa Nostra and other mafias. Once he arrived, Ivankov became a regular at the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City and was widely thought to be based in the Brighton Beach area of Brooklyn, where many Russian mobsters lived. But when the FBI came looking for him in Brighton Beach, where all the Russian mobsters lived, it discovered that the head of the Russian mafia in New York owned a luxury condo in the glitziest part of Manhattan at 721 Fifth Avenue. In fact, Trump Tower. Just the head of the Russian mafia there. Just living in Trump Tower. After he bought it with cash, laundered the money. Yet another Mogilevich associate with ties to Trump was Alimzhan Taktakanov. If I got that right, I win the day. Nobody can make fun of me the rest of the day if I got that right. Better known as, how's that better known then? Taiwanchik? That's not better. Whose relationship with Mogilevich dates back more than 3 decades. Indicted in 2002 for bribing Olympic figure skater judges, Taktakanov was awarded the number 5 position on the FBI's most wanted list, 2 slots behind Mogilevich. So 2 of the top 5 people on the FBI's most wanted list are just like doing business with Trump. They're just like, they just live at his place, doing business with him, bailing him out of problems. In April 2013, 2 gambling rings that he allegedly ran were busted by the FBI. Where? On the 63rd floor of Trump Tower, resulting in the indictments of 34 members and associates of Russian organized crime. Among them was Taktanov, who fled the country to avoid prosecution, ran to Russia. But don't worry, he appeared later that year in public at Trump's 2013 Miss Universe pageant. What did chat do? What did you do? What did chat do? Should say Trump is second in command in Moscow? Yeah, it might be. They won't even put Trump in charge. Trump's like agriculture ambassador in Russia, something like that. They're like, we got to give him something we don't give a shit about. Everyone's roasting me. Terrific. Thank you. That's about right. Glad. Thanks, Gail. They paid large sums of money for the most powerful legal talent in the land, enough at times to woo the very men who had once been charged with pursuing them. In 1997, former FBI Director William Sessions traveled to Moscow and alerted the world to the horrifying dangers of the brutal Russian mafia. But 10 years later, he took on as a client the Ukrainian-born Mogilevich. At the time, the U.S. Department of Justice was investigating racketeering charges against Mogilevich over questionable energy deals between Russia and Ukraine. It sounds familiar. Sessions' successor as FBI Director Louis Freeh also later represented Russian clients, all perfectly legal. But in Freeh's case, the client was Denis Katsif, Cyprus-based, and here's where I can get some of these names right. Prevezon Holdings. Free helped Prevezin settle a money laundering probe by the U.S. government after the company was accused of laundering more than $200 million in a Russian tax fraud scheme in which an American hedge fund manager and his firm, Hermitage Capital, this is Bill Browder, I always bring up Bill Browder, this is his, Hermitage Capital is his company, were said to have been framed by the Russians, which is true. The Russians framed them, saying they went in and they illegally obtained stock from Russian companies, specifically Prevezon, and then they wound up killing Sergei Magnitsky, who was Bill Browder's lawyer, and then those same people showed up at Trump Tower in 2016. They to meet with Trump about giving him dirt on Hillary Clinton. They showed up with Don Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort, the campaign manager who pled guilty to not disclosing his financial connections with Russia. He was on Russians' payroll while running Trump's campaign. And then he went to jail for it, and then Trump pardoned him. Like, again, how many more things should have been the end? This was the beginning of his presidency. His campaign chairman was on the Russian payroll. The Russians were trying to get the Americans to give them Bill Browder because they would have just killed him, and in exchange they would give dirt on Hillary Clinton. And then Trump lied about it, and then they got caught, and then they had to admit it. They had to just admit all this happened. And then Paul Manafort went to jail. And Jared Kushner got $2 billion from the Saudis. And you guys are just like, yeah, fuck it, dude. It's fine. This is all fine. Manafort's been convicted of bank fraud, tax fraud, and failure to comply with Foreign Agents Registration Act by not reporting his foreign income. It's in there. It's getting old. Next on the list. The rest of Trump and Russia. The other reason we should be afraid of Trump and Russia. Remember, he's cool with Crimea being annexed by the Russians. He's cool with the Russians keeping part of Donbass. He clearly is owned by Russians. He's been on their payroll for decades. And now we're consistently hearing Trump claims that he once told a NATO ally that he would encourage Russia to do whatever the hell they want to delinquent members of the group. Sent shockwaves through our UN allies. As he moves closer, this was from earlier in the year, so some of this timeline is going to sound not current, because it's not. As he moves closer to winning the GOP presidential nomination, Trump's tightening grip on the GOP is reshaping the party's traditional defense of long-standing military alliances and rejection of Moscow's positions that date back to the days of the Soviet Union. Many who once would have responded with alarm to the NATO remarks have largely now fallen in line with Trump's priorities or have chosen to retire, as it has become clear his influence was not wanted. Like, just capitulate. You either capitulate or you're fired or you are allowed to resign. Those are your options. When Trump talks about destroying NATO, when we talk about destroying NATO, like, he absolutely wants to destroy NATO. Or at the very least, he wants to slowly make NATO weaker to please Vladimir Putin. It's pretty obvious at this point. If you don't think it's obvious, I don't know. I honestly don't know what you're watching. Sync TV, are you opposition? I'll bring you up. If not, I'll bump you back down. Sync TV.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey.
How's it going over there?
Good, man. What's up?
You guys got much on in the next couple of weeks in America?
Did you get a new profile?
No.
No? What's your other profile? This isn't your normal profile you come on.
No, I think I've only talked to you once before.
No, multiple times.
There was no one in the queue, so I thought, I'll hit request because
yeah, you actually literally say that every time you come here. You've been here multiple times, and you say that exact line every time.
No, I think
that's weird.
I think this is only the second time.
It's not. It's multiple times.
It might be my doppelganger, my voice doppelganger.
And you guys also use that same line? There's nobody in the request box.
It's a common Australian saying.
There's nobody in the guest box is a common Australian saying.
It is.
You have guest box all over Australia?
Yeah, like we had in primary school, we have guest boxes on our desks.
Yeah.
That, like,
Were you just tired of hearing the shit about Donald Trump and you wanted to derail it, or do you have something to say?
Oh no, I'm curious as to, there's I don't know what it is, but like on TikTok there seems to be a saturation of people that are, I mean, I've heard a lot of lives and they're mostly, American political lives. They're all anti-Trump, or like, negative Trump lives. There isn't actually many pro-Republican lives.
Yeah, there used to be a lot more, and I think that people got tired of trying to defend the indefensible. Like at this point, if you're still out here willing to every day defend Donald Trump, I guess good for you, but I probably would have given up defending the indefensible too. He's that shitty. He's that shitty that like nobody, even the people that are voting for him, are unwilling to defend him. I don't have a single family member who would sit down and discuss politics with me right now. Not one.
Oh, okay. Are they Republicans?
Yeah, and what happens is if you discuss politics with Republicans, they have to defend Trump's behavior. They have to defend what he says. They have to defend what he does. And that's not a position that a lot of people are comfortable being in because it's a pretty horrific record.
Well, they don't have to do anything, do they?
That's so stupid. Yeah, just stay on topic. Don't derail, please.
Just
I don't have a lot. Listen, I don't have a lot of patience today. Like, if you want to talk about politics, we can. But these generic response. That was such a stupid response. Of course, they don't have to. Nobody has to speak.
No one has to do anything.
But if you're going to defend him, you're going to have to defend those types of attacks. Otherwise, people are just going to think that you're non-responsive.
Or maybe you might say that this is stupid as well, but could it be that they're just they've had enough of the 24/7 whinging from Democrats about Trump? No, you don't think that's you don't think maybe the constant berating, the constant demonization, the constant
what you're talking about, all these things are just us telling the truth. Like I've spent now over an hour and a half just articulating things that are verifiably true about Donald Trump. And so, we're saying the same thing. You just don't know what a fact is. So you think that these things we say about Trump are just opinion, but they're not. These things are actually happening.
It's not so much the things you're saying; it's the manner in which you say them, and the.
I don't care. I'm not asking. Listen. If you noticed, I don't have a sign up here that says "Please critique my style." I'm really interested in what you think of my approach. Your approach is stupid. Your approach ends thoughts. It's thought ending. It's conversation ending. Talking to you is like speaking to a random word generator. And every time we get anywhere close to substance, you derail it into some nonsense like you're doing now. It's the tone of your voice. Toughen up. This is politics. If you're not equipped to have a discussion and have people's tone of voice be aggressive, stay out of politics. And maybe just be quiet and listen.
I'm not talking about me and you. I'm just giving you hints how you can potentially talk to your family members.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in your advice.
You're not interested in your family members.
I'm not interested in your advice. You don't know my family members. You don't know a goddamn thing about my family members. You don't know. You have no idea how to approach them.
It sounds like you're not really talking to them. So, I mean, you could work on that.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
You could work on it.
Sorry, my family's in a cult. What do you want me to do?
Maybe not say that they're in a cult, so
but they are in a cult. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to them and live in this imaginary hypothetical world that they live in, where they get to make rules for everybody and they get to demean my choices because of the rules they chose to believe in. No, absolutely not. The best thing you can do for a cult is expose it. Every cult that has come to its end, that's how it got exposed loudly, and then cult members eventually their initial response is to fight back. That's the initial response. Like,
These
excuse me, this, I'm teaching you something new. The initial response from a cult member is to fight back. And eventually you get worn down because you don't actually have good arguments, and the arguments against you are factual. So then you withdraw. Then you say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to engage in this anymore. And then some of those people stay in the cults, and some of the people say, maybe they had a point, and then they look into it and they leave the cult. I'm not looking to convince everybody. I'm looking to convince a handful of people who are willing to recognize their own behavior in defending the indefensible and say, like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I recognize that most of you don't understand what I'm doing, specifically you.
Just quickly, if I may. So, I mean, these are the decisions that we make in life. Do we put our political persuasions and our political agendas before our family or after our family?
This has nothing to do with politics.
You have to make that
It
decision.
has nothing to do with politics.
Like,
it has nothing to do with politics.
Of course
Would
it
you
does.
let me ask you a question. Let's say you lived in, let's
you
say,
don't talk to your family members about it.
Excuse me. Let's say you live in Germany in the 1930s, and you see what Hitler's doing, and you see his rhetoric, and your whole family's like, we're voting for him. We're in the schmatzy party now. Would you, and then years, this goes on for years, would you tell that person, like, you just need to set aside your differences? And you're like, well, but my differences are that they are going to eliminate Jewish people. And you're like, yeah, but do you really want politics to come between you and your family? Like, I've been political my whole life. I've had good relationships with people in my family who have opposite political beliefs. But what I can't do is pretend that he's not a threat to democracy. I'm not going to pretend that that as Christians it makes any sense for them to defend him. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't do harm. It does. And if they're not willing to recognize, if they're not willing to admit things that are real, then I just have to say, sorry, you're in a cult. And I've escaped a cult. I know who can leave the cult and who doesn't. And the people that are left in my family, they're probably not going to leave.
So what you're saying is there's no introspection on your behalf whatsoever.
I've done 5 years of deconstruction therapy, the most painful the most painful 5 years of my life. I've done 5 years more than any one of them has done. They won't even look at their own beliefs and question them. They are taught not to question their beliefs. They literally say, doubt your doubts, not your beliefs. I've done the work, they haven't. Just like I've done the work on Trump and you haven't. I was a Republican who did the work and left. And I've never once in my entire time doing this met somebody that was a Trump supporter that did the work. Not once. You could be the example. Prove to me, tell me why tell me why, after what I just read about Donald Trump being completely owned by Russia, why should I trust him to run our military?
Well, I mean, that's your decision. Like,
no, I'm asking you to give me your opinion on why he should run the military.
If the majority of American
no, I want your opinion.
Don't,
excuse me, I'm muting you now. You got to do like, we're going to have a conversation one-on-one, and you're going to stop speaking in generalities, or I've got to move on. I'm asking you your opinion. I don't want to hear about poll numbers. I don't want to hear about who votes. I want to hear you tell me why you think it's a good idea for somebody owned by Russia to run the United States.
I mean, I'm not in a position to give an
well, then
opinion.
what are you doing here?
Well, I didn't realize this was like some sort of highfalutin, high-profile geopolitics discussion.
Yeah, we have a minimum level.
Do you have like we have
a minimum level of intelligence required to debate, and it's a pretty low bar, and you're still under it. Like, you don't know anything. This is the thing. Like, I'm 99% sure you're just paid, because I've seen you do this exact thing on many other people's lives. This is your whole shtick. You use the same lines over and over and over. That's weird. That's some cult shit itself. That's like some call center cult shit, though. Like when I was in a cult and I worked in a call center and we had a script and we would sell people on Jesus at a call center when I was in a cult. You sound exactly like that.
May I speak, sir?
All right, depends on what you say. I might cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's your whole shtick is to
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Do you want to talk about any of these issues, or you want to keep talking about me? I'm sorry that I'm under your skin.
No, you need to really look.
Do you want to
within
talk
yourself.
about issues or do you want to talk about me? You choose.
No, because you actually are the
Have
issue.
a good day. Yeah, I am the issue. I'm the issue. I'm the issue that many of you have, and I'm the issue that your call center has too. Keep up the good work. I hope you're being paid well. I hope that's going well for you. All right. Keep going. We ended with Trump wants to destroy NATO. He believes Russian intelligence officials over our own intelligence officials when Russia tells him they didn't interfere in the election, even though literally everybody knows that Russia interfered in the election. Republicans, Democrats, everybody knows that that Russia interfered, and except for Trump. Trump seems to be the only one, which is weird. Like Russia's even admitted it, and Trump still can't say it. And maybe that's because he's beholden to Russia, or maybe because he doesn't want to admit that that's how he won. I don't know. I guess you could have your own opinion on that. How about the time when he said we should use the military against our own people? Former Defense Secretary Mark Esper said President Donald Trump inquired about shooting protesters amid the unrest that took place after George Floyd's murder in 2020. The president was enraged. He thought that the protests made the country look weak, made us look weak, and us meant him. And he wanted to do something about it. Imagine that's your reaction. Like you're seeing these protests, whatever side of the protest you're on. It's not, how do we stop the protests? It's not, what do we do about these killings? It's not, how do we come together? It's, this makes us look weak. This makes me look bad. It's a complete sociopath. This is from NPR. Complete and total sociopath would say that, right? You're watching that happen and you're like, immediately, this is about me. We reached the point in the conversation where he looked frankly at General Milley and said, can't you just shoot him? Just shoot him in the legs or something? It was a suggestion and a formal question, and we were just all taken aback at that moment as this issue just hung very heavily in the air. Those are American citizens. Whatever you want to say about political sides, that's what it looks like to be on the other side of Donald Trump's politics. He does not view you as human. We'll get into that in a minute. He promises to be a dictator on day one. That's 21 or 22. 23. He promises to deport people in America by misusing the 1798 Aliens Enemies Act, where he incorrectly thinks he can use an act that we use in wartime despite us not being in wartime. And he absolutely will try it. And that will infringe on the rights of millions of Americans if he's able to do that. He will not release his medical records. What's the deal with his ear? Why is he not releasing cognitive tests now? Why don't we get real? Why are all of our medical records from like a disgraced doctor, Ronnie Jackson? He will not release his tax returns. He's failing mentally and physically, which you can see. He's slumped as shit. I was talking to my friends about this morning that he's going on Joe Rogan. That's not going to be 3 hours. If it is 3 hours, it's going to be horrific. I hope it goes 3 hours, and I hope Joe Rogan just lets him ramble incoherently because I want all the bros to listen to that whole thing. He repeats lines used by Schmittler, Stalin, and Mussolini. This is from The Atlantic. Rhetoric has a history. The words democracy and tyranny were debated in ancient Greece, and the phrase separation of powers became important in the 17th and 18th centuries. The word vermin as a political term dates back from the 1930s and 40s, when both fascists and communists liked to describe their political enemies as vermin, parasites, and blood infections, as well as insects, weeds, dirt, and animals. How many times does he say that his political enemies or foreign enemies died like a dog, or they did something like a dog? They're poisoning our blood infections. They're vermin, parasites. Those are the words that are used historically by fascists. This language isn't merely ugly or repellent. These words belong to a particular tradition. Adolf Hitler used these kinds of terms often. In 1938, he praised his compatriots who had helped cleanse Germany of all those parasites who drank at the well of despair of the fatherland and the people. In occupied Warsaw, a 1941 poster displayed a drawing of a loose with a caricature of a Jewish face. The slogan, "Jews are lice, they cause typhus," Germans, by contrast, were clean, pure, healthy, and vermin-free. Schmittler once described the Schmatzi flag as the victorious sign of freedom and the purity of our blood. Let's not repeat history. Whoever just said that, yeah. Let's go ahead and not repeat history. Let me check comments real quick. Thank you guys so much. I know I'm not given a lot of opportunities for comments, but I appreciate it. Cameron says, cook me like you cooked that troll, Double Daddy. I like Double Daddy. Thank you for using that, Cameron. Jen hates that one. There's no position I'm uncomfortable in. Just letting you know. Thanks, Sal. I appreciate that. That's really important to know. Kimmy says, Russian bumholo? Sounds deep. I don't know. Do Russians have historically deep anal cavities? Lindsay, tell us more in depth about the anals. Oh, God. Here they come. Great. Anal, you say, says Sal. I should have read these at the moment. This is bringing back my nightmare. I read that one from Sergio. Michael, when Trump wins, what will your focus be on? Michael, if Trump wins, my focus will continue to be on politics, but I don't think there will be a lot of debates if Trump wins, there's probably more debates. If Trump loses, I guess it depends on how he loses. If he goes out like he went out last time, he may be able to keep the debates alive. But if Trump loses, it's tough for you guys, because if Trump loses, that means he hasn't won an election since 2016. He lost 18, 20, 22, 24. At that point, you have to say, we got to go in a different direction. Maybe you guys won't. Maybe you'll run him when he's 84, or 82, if he's still alive. I don't know. I imagine if Kamala wins, things will briefly be chaotic and then settle down. I don't know. It depends on you guys. If you guys are ever going to admit that you lost, but if we lose, we lose. I don't even know what groups, like, people would protest. There would be people would march, I'm sure. I just don't think this idea that there's going to be violence from the left over an election holds really any weight. And I'm glad. I'm happy about that. I hope I'm not wrong, but I don't think that there will be violence coming from the left. I hope I'm wrong. He'll change the name from the United States to the Christian Federation. Yeah. He'll just call the whole thing Trump University. All right, Trump is a draft dodger. Just a reminder that that guy who consistently goes after our military leaders, mocks them, he dodged the draft. He lost $1 billion in 10 years and is one of the worst businessmen in American history. This is an article from the New Republic from, I don't know what year it was, from 2019. Any dwindling belief that Donald Trump's business career represented anything other than the art of the scam died Tuesday night when the New York Times reconstructed the president's federal tax returns from 1985 to 1994. In a feat of forensic work worthy of a TV crime series, reporters Russ Buettner and Suzanne Craig revealed that Trump lost $1.17 billion in a decade and appears to have lost more money than any other individual American taxpayer. The Times story also revealed that in business, if alas not yet in politics, Trump the braggart eventually became exposed as Trump the blowhard. That perfectly explains what that last guest was talking about. Like, I've noticed there's no conservatives debating. Yeah, that's not a good sign. They're tired of you picking on them. Yeah, I would be tired too if I didn't have a defense. You know what nobody talks to us about anymore? Not a lot of talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Not a lot of talk about Joe Biden being a criminal. Nothing on Kamala. Literally, not one thing. She's so clean they can't find a scandal. Tim Walz, they're making up AI scandals. That shit doesn't stick. The reason we keep coming back to is because it sticks, and you guys are just like, no, it doesn't. We're water. You can't stick stuff to us. We're just water. One of Trump's few profit-making ventures in the 1980s was his version of the age-old Wall Street boiler room scam known as pump and dump. Now he's in the crypto world. Repeatedly, Trump would announce that he was seeking to acquire majority control of a major company like United Airlines, and then when the stock jumped, he'd sell his relatively small holdings at a major profit. Trump pulled off the same scheme with publicly touted investments in Hilton Hotels, Gillette, and Federated Department Stores. I don't know what that is. What is Federated Department Stores? I've never heard of that. Jumar says they want more anal double daddy. God damn. Is Sal still going wild? It's Macy's? Okay, I didn't know that. But stock analysts with money on the line noticed that Trump never followed through after his initial braggadocio about a takeover attempt. In late 1989, a purported Trumpian raid on American Airlines inspired mostly yawns and giggles. According to the Times analysis, Trump appeared to have lost more than $30 million when American Airlines dropped sharply. So they figured him out after a couple years, and they're like, all right, well, he's planning on a pump. We're gonna do the opposite here. And Trump lost $30 million. Sal, Jesus. Where can you find this list? You can find it in Discord. We will post it. You can also go to Seth Abramson's Twitter. He's the one that made this list. So I just stole it and put in my links. He'll slash benefits to the poor and to the elderly. This is something I don't think gets reported enough, and it blows my mind every time we have somebody, one of our senior friends, who's voting for Trump. Did I not mark this one up? Oops. Son of a bitch. Oh, there it is. Okay. This report coming from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget said seniors would face heftier cuts to their Social Security benefits sooner than expected if Donald Trump wins the presidential election and his campaign promises are implemented. At the time, Social Security benefits would be cut by 30% to 31%, reaching 33% by 2035. If Social Security remains on the current trajectory, the reduction would be 23% by 2035. So a 10% increase in funding. Or decrease, excuse me. The report considered Trump's promises to get rid of taxes on Social Security benefits, tips, and overtime, as well as his vow to deport undocumented immigrants and impose a 10 to 20% tariff on imported goods and a 60% tariff on Chinese goods. So that's his policy, right? We should all be able to agree this is Trump's policy, that he's going to end tips on overtime, or taxes on tips and overtime, deport undocumented immigrants, and impose tariffs, specifically 60% at China. By not taxing Social Security benefits, which directly go to Social Security and Medicare trust funds, Social Security would lose $950 billion. Another $900 billion would be lost to the elimination of taxes on overtime and tips, the former of which is subject to FICA taxes, and the latter must be reported at tax time. The tariffs and deportations would reduce the money going into Social Security by $400 billion. In total, $2.25 trillion less than would be collected under current law. Tell your friends that are seniors, this shit's not going to work for them, especially if they think they're going to live another 10 years. And now, of course, we're talking about the trust there. If the trust expires, you still get benefits, but it's like 80% of the benefits that you were supposed to get. That's what the trust is there for. Trump would bring in $2.25 trillion less. He's going to curb military spending? No. What's he going to do to pay for that? Cut education? That's the plan. We're going to cut education, and we're going to ask billionaires to pay a little bit less. That's how we pay for this. Jen, I think that was an old one. All right, where are we at? I'm going to run out of voice here. We're going to go to 40 today. He hates dogs. This is the killer. Donald Trump didn't have a dog. There was no dog in the White House. And look, Joe Biden has a historically shitty dog. Apparently his dog has bitten like multiple people, which is not good. That's bad. But Donald Trump didn't have a dog. What kind of sociopath doesn't have a dog? You go to the White House, you have a dog, and you it's just part of it. You pick a dog that's like represents you, but not Trump. Trump's like, no, that dog might get attention. Or a cat. Yeah, you can't. I don't trust people who are unwilling to have a pet. Sorry, that should have been a deal breaker. He illegally, I found it earlier. He illegally spied on political rivals. This is from Vanity Fair. Again, all these articles are in the Discord. This is from May of 2021. So just know that that's when the date's referencing. That's when this happened. On Thursday night, it emerged that Trump's Justice Department had obtained CNN reporter Barbara Starr's email and phone records covering a period of 2 months between June and July 2017. In a letter informing her of the secret surveillance, Joe Biden's DOJ listed phone numbers for Starr's Pentagon extension, her home phone, and cell numbers, the CNN Pentagon booth phone number, and her work and personal email accounts. It's not clear why the Trump administration wanted to know who Starr was corresponding with, according to CNN. Starr reported on U.S. military options in North Korea, as well as stories on Afghanistan and Syria. In a statement, CNN President Jeff Zucker said the network strongly condemns the secret collection of any aspect of a journalist's correspondence, which is clearly protected by the First Amendment, adding, "We are asking for an immediate meeting with the Justice Department for an explanation." Trumpers will be like, "They spied on our campaign." Yeah, they got a warrant. If you have a reason for spying on Barbara Starr, what is it? Just tell us. There was a reason the Trump's campaign got spied on. We discussed it already. Paul Manafort was on the payroll of Russia. He already went to jail. We know what the reason was. What's this reason? So we don't have a reason. Are you comfortable with your president spying on people without a reason, without a warrant, without going through any of the normal checks and balances? Because it seems here we don't know anything. There's no record. We just know that they spied on her. Where's the record? When are they going to find her, arrest Elon? I don't know. It's crazy. Like, you almost can't, like, this is what's shitty about this country. Donald Trump has created this fake narrative, this fake reality where we can't even prosecute him because he's like, it's actually worse on the other side. We're saving you from the actual bad stuff. So when he does bad stuff, people just ignore it. But nobody can identify like the bad stuff that's happening over here. He has Eric Jr. and Don Jr. and Eric as pets. Trump Musk 2024. All right, what are you getting rid of JD Vance already? You guys done with JD Vance over there? Jessica says, waiting in line to vote in East Tennessee. The line wait is 2 hours, and I've never been more excited to vote for someone. The poll workers say it's been nonstop. I saw a video of somebody in Tennessee, a woman, very emotional, saying the same thing. I don't know what that tells us. I hope that means that that Democrats are coming out. Maybe those are Swifties. I hope those aren't Trump people. But shout out Jessica for waiting in line for 2 hours. I'm just going to mail mine. It's going out today. In fact, it's probably gone now. The Starr revelation comes weeks after it was reported that 3 Washington Post reporters who covered the FBI's Russia investigation had their phone records obtained by Trump's DOJ, which followed the 2018 disclosure from the DOJ that it obtained email and phone communications of a reporter for Politico, BuzzFeed, and the New York Times who'd written articles about Russia. Meanwhile, earlier this week, court filings showed that the DOJ subpoenaed Twitter in November 2020 in an attempt to learn the identity of the person behind a parody account that criticized Devin Nunes. I think that was Devin Nunes' cow, right? We are on this is lie 34. This is lie 34, or not lie 34, excuse me, reason 34 not to vote for Trump. Now, for the second time in just about as many weeks, we've seen these disclosures that the DOJ has gone about obtaining records without advance notice to the journalist or to the news organization to give the reporter a chance to contest what the DOJ is seeking. Twice now, we've seen in the prior administration that toward the end of their time in office, they used this route to intrude into the very heart of what news gathering is about. It's deeply disconcerting, and the new team at DOJ has a real imperative in front of it now to very quickly explain to these newsrooms and to press freedom advocates what happened and how did it happen and why did it happen and what can they do to ensure this administration and future administrations that this doesn't happen again. This reminds me, I dated a wonderful person from Bethesda, Maryland, and her grandfather was Jack Anderson. He worked for, I think, the Washington Times. He was the Woodward of the Washington Times. He also reported on Nixon and Watergate. And I was talking to her dad one time, and he was telling me about as they grew up as kids. Consistently, as they were driving through town, their dad would speed up and they would drive in crazy ways to lose a tail. and that they knew that they couldn't really talk on the phone if they were going to say anything outside of like not to talk about specifically where people were, because they knew their phones were tapped, because Nixon was trying to find out how all these people were getting this information about him, right? That's exactly what Trump's DOJ did. That anybody who was getting information about him that was working, they wanted to know where they got it. And so they just started using the DOJ as a weapon. I have another article, but I don't have it marked up. I'm going to read it tomorrow. One that I found. It's from Raw Story, so I also want to fact check it because I don't always trust what Raw Story puts up. They've caught me, or they've tricked me before. So I'll read that one tomorrow. But about some new claims of Trump surveilling people. All right. He says he will prosecute, incarcerate, and possibly execute his political enemies. That's just reason number 35. We're not even halfway there. In one recent interview, Trump said that if the radical left lunatics disrupt the election, it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, the National Guard, or if really necessary, the military. Yes, Anderson was Mormon. Yeah, he was. Does he not know that the National Guard's not part of the military? Does he not know that? That's a weird thing to say. It should be handled by the National Guard, if not the military. Is it? Am I wrong? I'm not like I didn't serve in the military. If you served in the National Guard, are you considered a member of the military? Is there something I don't know? I think you are, right? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Bobert's still waiting for you to call and set up a date. Look, I'm just waiting for Beetlejuice to get back in town, and then I'll head over to Colorado. That statement on Fox News was not the first time Trump has expressed support for using government force against domestic political rivals. Since 2022, when he began preparing for the presidential campaign, Trump has issued more than 100 threats to investigate, prosecute, imprison, or otherwise punish his perceived opponents, NPR has found. A review of Trump's rally speeches, press conferences, interviews, and social media posts show that the former president has repeatedly indicated that he would use federal law enforcement as part of a campaign to exact retribution. It's a bizarre thing to say. That's a bizarre word to use, right? Why not just say, like, I'm going to go after the people, I'm going to go after everybody who breaks the law. Terrific. And then you name a bunch of specific people and then you call it retribution. Like, you understand, retribution isn't the same thing as justice, right? Why do MAGA not care about that? Yeah, it's a specific word choice, Anna. Yeah. Have a room to stay if I come see Bobo. Can she sleep over? Vice President Kamala Harris should be impeached and prosecuted, Trump said at a rally last month. For what, first of all? What the fuck would you impeach Kamala for? Honestly, like, Biden, they had the Hunter Biden stuff, and it was stupid, but there was something. Like, what in the world would you impeach Kamala Harris for? It's dictator-less language. It's also dickhead language. I will appoint a real special prosecutor, a real one, not a fake one, to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family. How'd that go? How'd that go for Trump? How'd that go for everybody? The biggest crime, the most corrupt president in the history of the United States. It turns out, one time his son didn't pay his taxes and he lied on a form to get a firearm. Whew, that's tough. That's a lot. How did we overcome that? How are we still a country? How are we still standing knowing that Hunter Biden once didn't pay his taxes and lied on a form to get a firearm? How do we even exist? I can't believe that wasn't the end of our country. That's crazy. Elizabeth Lynn Cheney is guilty of treason, reads one post Trump reposted on his social media site. Read truth if you want televised military tribunals. Yeah. Put them on TV. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's military tribunals for what? What did she do where the military would be involved? Like, this is crazy talk. And they just ignore this. This is just, if you take one step, if you take Donald Trump's quotes, and MAGA does this, they hear the quote and then they're like, how do I spin that? How do I spin that? So they hear, should you have televised military tribunals? And they're like, yeah, he's just saying like it should be public. It shouldn't be a closed hearing. No, he's not. He's saying read truth if you want televised military tribunals. He chose the military. Like, yeah, well, look, he says things, but that's not really what he means. Okay. Like, we're not ever, you guys aren't allowed to believe what he says. We're not allowed to believe what he says. It's just like, it's all interpretation. That's how he gets you. He keeps you in the loop. If there can ever be any doubt that what he said wasn't what he said, if you can explain it away a different way, you don't have to leave the cult. Journalists who declined to identify the sources of leaked information would also face imprisonment, Trump said. Now we're going to imprison journalists? Aren't you guys the party? Like, it wasn't that long ago, every one of you was talking about WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, Richard Branson. What's the other guy's name? What's the other guy's name? Am I missing his name now? Snowden. Thank you, Ed Snowden. This was like 6 months ago. You guys were nonstop talking about this. And now you want people to go to prison, journalists, for sources? By the way, Bob Woodward, I mean, maybe that's why Bob Woodward would have went to jail. Maybe that's why, when they broke Watergate. Learning about the Iran-Contras and us working with the Contras and are the CIA working to bring in drugs. None of that would be possible without journalists. And all of them, every one of them, would have been put in jail. That's what you want for this America? You want America to be a place that jails journalists now? That's pretty wild. It's pretty anti-constitution, if you ask me. Trump says if the reporter doesn't want to tell you, it's bye-bye. The reporter goes to jail. He appeared to suggest that the reporter could also face sexual assault while in custody. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Let's just play the clip.
Easily made public. You know, in this country, they leak all over the place, even on the Supreme.
That's weird. It has an echo. Does it have an echo for you guys?
And, you know, it's public, or it can be very easily made public. You know, in this country, they leak all over the place, even on the Supreme Court. By the way, you have to
Must be the recording.
You have to find out. You know how you find the leaker? They'll say, oh, this is what I said. So they can't find the leaker. He leaked all about Roe v. Wade. Look, this person leaked from...
Listen, if anybody is a leaker, it's the guy wearing a diaper.
From the Supreme Court never happened. You know how you find, but they don't want to mention this because they think it's so terrible. You take the writer, you're never going to find it. They're going through phone records. It's been a long time. You take the writer and or the publisher of the paper, it's a certain paper, you know, and you say, who is the leaker? National Security. And they say, we're not going to tell you. They say, that's okay, you're going to jail. And when this person realizes that he is going to be the bride of another prisoner very shortly.
Okay, he did do it.
He will say, I'd very much like to tell you exactly who that leaker is. It was Bill Jones. I swear he's a leaker.
Yeah, all right. So let's jail them, but then let's also make sure that they're sexually assaulted so they give up the source. Sounds like a racetrack or sports center. Yeah, it was weird. These are wireless, so there's obviously two audio tracks because it was delayed in this ear, or it was like the echo was in this ear. Anyways, what the fuck? I didn't even catch that when it happened. He's so crazy. I don't even remember that happening. That would end any other person's campaign. That would be the end of it. Nobody else could survive that. And this is just one of like 50 trillion fucking things this lunatic has said that would end anybody else's campaign. And it's just because Republicans refuse to hold him accountable. Yeah, no ops today. But we are, our traffic is throttled. So it doesn't show up in For You. So the only people who are here are people who probably follow or were here before the traffic got throttled. It'll be hard. You can invite people, but I got a notice saying that they were not going to suggest the lie. All right. So there's Trump. I hadn't seen that clip before. That's fucking terrific. When right-wing radio host Glenn Beck asked Trump if he would lock up his opponents in a second term, Trump responded, "The answer is yes. You have no choice because they're going to do it to us. Now that's dangerous." That's the dangerous part. They are they are going to lock people up before they can lock him up or Glenn Beck. These are hypothetical crimes they're talking about now. They are going to preemptively lock up people for crimes that are hypothetical. What else? If there's MAGA here, explain that differently to me then. I want to see this in a different way. I want this not to be true. But Trump, will you lock up your opponents in your second term? Yes, you have no choice because they're doing it to us. They're not. Is anybody behind bars? You're not even behind bars. Again, we're not claiming a crime has been committed. You're not showing any crime that's been committed. If there is MAGA here, tell them to come up in the box while I check comments. I'd love to hear a different explanation for that. Cameron says, throttle me like the viewership is throttled. Double daddy. Sal says, as someone who has serviced many military men, yes, the National Guard is part of the military. Jesus. Just like in between. By the way, is National Guard part of the military? It is. Jesus Christ, Sal. Oh God. That is beautiful. All right. Sorry, that got me pretty good. Is Sal okay? I don't know. He might not be, but I love him. Many of Trump's threats relate to his persistent false claims about election fraud and the lie that he won the 2020 election. Start arresting the poll workers and watch how fast they tell you who told them to cheat, reads a message Trump reposted on social media. How fucking crazy that is. Just arrest them. You know, like those videos all over the internet, like the First Amendment auditors that go in and there's like, I like those videos. I don't know why. It's embarrassing that I like them, but I do. I like watching police get told that they just can't do whatever the fuck they want. But that's what we're talking about. We're arresting you. Why? You're working at the polls and you won't tell us about the fraud. I didn't see any fraud. Yeah, we'll see about that. Locked up. And then, like, let's just say that Trump could do that, which I don't think he can do, but let's just say he had it his way. Then you're going to, and they know this, you lock people up and you get people to give false confessions because they don't want to live in jail. They don't mind. They'll just pretend that they saw something. So you plan a little story, make them confirm a story, and then you have election fraud. That was the plan all along. The plan all along was to get people to corroborate these stories so they could get to court and they could have stories that were corroborated. But the judges were like, hey, how come you can't prove any of this? And they were like, fuck, we thought you might ask that. God damn it. We thought. And we were like, maybe they won't. And then you asked it and we're like, damn. Number 36. Donald Trump is the least intelligent nominee in history. He speaks on a fourth grade level. That is fact. It's just they've done analysis. He is the least intelligent. His tax cuts would raise taxes for every tax bracket but the top 5%. That's according to American Progress. You can see it here. Just given. I wonder why these billionaire buddies are liking him so much. Specifically the ones that are in the crypto space. It's weird, right? They want to be able to accumulate a lot more money. By the way, all you crypto bros, just know, every one of these people at the top, they just want to have your money. They need crypto to stay alive long enough that you guys believe that you're going to do well. But these are all just pump and dump schemes, and maybe you'll get on the right side of it. And congratulations, you can just get money off of everybody else. But I do want to point out that that's not real work. As somebody who gets consistently accused of not doing real work, you add no benefit. You add no benefit to society and to the economy when you are just simply a day trader for crypto. I said the same thing about NFTs. There's a little bit better argument if you work in stocks because there's a lot more people invested in that. But you're not providing value. You're not making our country better. In fact, there's a lot of people who have lost millions and millions of dollars being scammed by crypto. There's people who lost life savings. There's people who lost their houses, their cars, their families, all that, because it's just gambling. It's just a casino that's legal, and like anybody with money gets to be the casino. If you have a lot of money, you get to be the casino. It's a good deal. Project 2025's tax reform plan, which again is exactly the same as what Trump says, even though he hasn't released his normal tax plan. It's exactly as Project 2025's looks. And two income tax bracket system that would raise taxes by $3,000 for the median family of four, which makes about $110,000 a year, and raise taxes by $950 for the typical single person household, which makes about $40,000 a year. It would provide an average of $1.5 to $2.4 million tax cut for the 45,000 U.S. households making more than $10 million. It would cut the corporate tax rate to 18%, which amounts to a $24 billion tax cut for the Fortune 100. Replace all individual and corporate income taxes with a consumption tax, which Trump hasn't proposed, but in Project 2025, they talk about a consumption tax, and this comes up. So I wanted you to hear this. This could take the form of value-added tax well above 45%, which would produce an enormous one-time burst of inflation and raise prices. It would be inflationary. So for anybody who retreats to like we should do a flat tax, they do that so that they can say it's fair. It's absolutely not fair, and it would explode inflation, which would not be great. Okay, that's what I had on those. That we're going to stop there. That's let me read the rest. Those are the only source I had. We're going to stop at 41. Historians agree he was the worst president in history. That's not factual, but that is opinion by historians. His previous tax cuts mostly benefited the rich. He has unresolved conflicts of interest in China, Russia, North Korea, and the United Arab Emirates. His illegal hit on Soleimani almost took us to war with Iran. I'm going to cover the unresolved conflicts and Iran tomorrow, but I didn't have all the sources necessary. I actually assumed we would have some debate, so I did not prepare a full 3.5. But let me show you just a couple other things then. We started with this clip and we didn't ever show it. So again, this is Scott McKay. He's speaking at the Reawaken America, and he was at Mar-a-Lago last night. And this was him with the Good Liars being interviewed, I think February, says, of 2023.
About us going to Mars. Mars has been colonized since after World War II. There are millions of Americans that live on Mars.
Really?
Because
millions.
The brain drain. Nazis won the war. They gave up the country of Germany, but the Nazis all came over here, and now they're all through the U.S. government. George H.W. Bush is the leader of the Fourth Reich.
Really?
Yeah, a lot more going on in this world than you can.
I do find it. They're like George W. Bush was the leader of the Fourth, and then you're like, but then all the other Republicans aren't part of this.
Possibly fail.
Wow. Have you thought about running for office with a platform like this, or?
I was in elected politics for 16 years, and I walked away, and it was 2006 when I realized the whole machine screw up, and half these guys are criminals.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
I'm gonna guess that's not true. I didn't fact check that, but let's see. Let's look up old Scott McKay. Let's see what his political history is. I'm gonna guess there was some sort of it might be hard to find. I'm gonna guess there was some sort of, he either lost or there was some sort of conflict. The Revivalist Manifesto he wrote, how patriots can win the next something. All right, let's see if this is here on Boat Smart. Maybe not there. I don't know. I'll try and find it tomorrow. I'm going to guess there was something crazy there. Then I wanted to show you this. This is Joe Walsh. He was here with Mesa Mayor Giles over the weekend. And I just thought this was interesting. Joe Walsh, former Republican, Mayor Giles, obviously current Republican, both endorsed Kamala Harris. They were down here in, looks like, where are they? Oh, right. They're just right near the airport, actually, right there in Phoenix.
Because, Allie, when I go into Arizona or Pennsylvania, I have so many local Republicans who come up to me and say, Joe, I'm with her. I'm going to vote for her. I just can't see.
I think I figured out what the sound is because that's a little echoey too. Hold on one second. I think I can switch my headphones onto one track. I think I've done this before. Let's see if this fixes it. There we go.
Do is you create a permission structure, right, for Republicans. And I spoke to a number of others, as I told you. We're going to air it later. People who are saying it's okay. You can be a Republican, you can be a conservative, you can want your party back, or you can want a different party, but you're still participating in the process, which in a state like Arizona is important to voters.
Absolutely. I mean, I have those conversations every day in the grocery store, at the gym. People that I've known my whole life walk up and say they want to whisper. Thank you for joining. Thank you for saying it, because it's still, people like Joe and I have to give people permission to say, you know what, it's okay to disagree about politics. It's okay to when your party at the top of the ticket has somebody that is objectionable, it's okay to zigzag around a little bit. That's the history of Arizona. That's the John McCain, Barry Goldwater tradition.
Oh my God, Ellie, look at the lead of your show.
Yes. Yeah.
Donald Trump is running to be a dictator.
It's so wild, though. I would think in the last few weeks of a close race, because you have actually run for president before, you want more votes.
He believes this will succeed. I think we misinterpret him in that he's just appealing to his base. He's trying to scare the hell out of the American people, people well beyond his base. He's appealing to our ugliest, darkest fears. Allie, fear's a great motivator.
Yes, it is. And certainly in this state, I don't live in a swing state normally, so I was in the car last night, and every ad is a political ad. There is certainly an element of fear. This is a state that has real things to deal with as it relates to a border. You are an actual border state, so people in this state have strong feelings about it. There were actually efforts to try and fix the border, but that is one of the biggest motivators Donald Trump is using. It's not just the border; it's immigrants in general. He's othering everybody.
You're right, and it is a big issue in Arizona, but it's also a place where that actually should ring very hollow, because a third of our population is Hispanic. I think as the Latino vote goes in Arizona, so will the outcome of the election go.
There we go. I'm just gonna. It's interesting to hear other people's perspective, like when they get into the state. It's interesting to hear from John Giles. We are in this weird state of the election where it is really, really hard to see where the election is. Like, usually we have conformity in the polls. Usually we don't have this big discrepancy between different polling places. Like we don't have somebody saying Michigan +4 for Trump and Michigan +4 for Kamala. We don't have this type of discrepancy this late in the race. What we are seeing is a lot of historically unknown polls, whether they were polling before or they're just starting to poll. We didn't know who they were, and they're showing up like last minute. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe all these Trump pollsters know something that we don't, but their methodology is off. And it does make me question, looking in Arizona, which looks pretty safe, like according to polls, it looks pretty safe for Trump. But then Ruben Gallegos leading Kerry Lake by like 4, 5, 6, 7. Does anyone know if you can see what vote you casted in Texas? I don't know what their website is, but usually if you vote, every state has a website there. Sorry, I was adding up the gift goal there. Let me adjust this. All right. Oops. Oh, my numbers locks off. There we go. Polls get more and more meaningless every election cycle. The thing is they, like, if we wanted to look at them right now, if we were to go to Real Clear, it'll look a little different than 538. In fact, I'd probably like 538 a little bit better. But if we go here and we look at Arizona's polling, yeah, all these late breaking ones. This is why I think Trump is in good position in Arizona, though. Like New York Times Siena, that's a good poll. Hill Emerson, that's a good poll. Trafalgar is a Republican poll, but they have him underperforming New York Times. Atlas is a weird. We'll have to see if what Atlas is doing is going to work or not. They've changed their methodology. Same with Insider Advantage. So when I look at Arizona and I say, like, let's look at just reputable polls, I can say, oh, that looks good for Trump. I can't say the same thing when I go over to Michigan. In fact, now we have Quinnipiac, who's very respected pollster, very highly rated pollster. They have Harris at +4. Trafalgar, the Republican-sponsored group, Trump +2. Atlas we covered yesterday, and MSN's, both of them have strange methodology. Rasmussen oversamples to the right, and they've got it at a tie. I'm looking at Michigan, and despite this spread here, if I look at only the people who do good polling, I think Harris has an advantage there. Pennsylvania, which we don't even really hear about that much anymore. Look at this. New York Times Siena has Harris +3. In that virtually same time period, Rasmussen has Trump +3, a six vote difference. Trafalgar has Trump +3. Atlas does. So I look here, Atlas, I'm waiting to see their data, but I look at Rasmussen and Trafalgar, both Republican leaning polls, and Atlas matches them. New York Times Siena, who is consistently more accurate, has Harris at +3. These polls just don't make a ton of sense. Going into North Carolina, I didn't see this. Oh shit, North Carolina changed. That's Atlas. We still don't know about them. Quinnipiac has North Carolina +3 for Harris. High Point Survey USA, I haven't looked at their methodology, but they have those. That's registered voters. That's a good poll. 1,164 registered voters. That's a good poll. Go down to Georgia. Looks good for Trump. Even Quinnipiac has Trump up +6 in Georgia. That's a wild number. Insider, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A lot of these local pollsters are really good. I don't know, Georgia. What's going on with Georgia? Let's go look at Wisconsin now. Quinnipiac has it tied. Trafalgar tie. Atlas +1. Rasmussen virtual tie in Wisconsin. That's the thing. I don't know. But here's the thing. Here's the part we don't know. We don't know how good this polling is. Now, there's this weird like line from the right where they say that polling is oversampling Democrats. That's a talking point they used from 2016 when people were lying about supporting Donald Trump. And in order to fix that, they had to go into other like more Trump-leaning areas to collect votes. And they did that in 2020. And those people who adjusted their model, it oversampled Republicans. Same with 2022. So if you're using 2016 as an indicator, we've now seen 2018, 2020, and 2022. And by using the indicators from 2016, it wound up oversampling Republicans. They didn't show up in the same way. It wasn't a good data point. So looking at some of these newer polling places and newer methodologies like MNS and Atlas, it depends. When I look at the data, when I look at who they're polling, I don't think they're polling the right people. I think that they're still oversampling conservatives. And when I say oversampling conservatives, I just mean like they might say 30% we're going to sample 30% of this group of people. And I think that 30% of people is like 22% Republican or 20% Republican. They're oversampling in different areas. And also Republicans are more likely to answer phone calls. I do want to say this. So this weekend, somebody tweeted out that Madison Square Garden was sold out for Trump. You can't get tickets. So I'm like, what? I don't know about that. So I went on the website. I registered to get 2 tickets to Madison Square Garden. My phone hasn't stopped ringing since then. I've had 13 texts since we started here. They are for anything from can you give me money to here's a poll. Will you take this poll? Working America sent me a poll this morning. Here is Reawaken America. That's great. Who's this? Don't let anything get in the way. Vote by absentee ballot. Visit Stand with Crypto's Vote Center to get with us. Now I've got like crypto stuff. Poll after poll. I've been inundated. So Republicans, and look, I get all the Kamala stuff too. I'm on that list. It's different. I'm getting like 4 or 5 polls a day from the Trump team, and I'm not getting that from Kamala. So maybe they're onto something with their polling. Maybe they're polling to keep numbers up. Maybe it's a grift. I don't know. Who knows? I don't. But I know that my phone won't shut the fuck up now. You let Trump in one time. He doesn't do that whole consent thing. And then I just want to share one last thing because I want to give hope before we go. And then we're going to raid Mr. Jones back today. We're going to end a little early. We're going to raid Jones back. I don't get a lot of chances to raid Jones, but Sandy sent this. Sandy's in the Discord. She sent me this video. This is from the Trump rally, and this is old. It's from Westmoreland. It was on the 19th. But just to show, just so we feel a little bit better, in Trump country, he says, in where he's doing well in Pennsylvania, this is a rally that he claimed had, I think, 50,000 people. And you guys just tell me if this is 50,000.
System, and it's a corrupt Justice Department, and it's a corrupt DA, corrupt attorney generals. They use it to get elected because you can't get elected with open borders, with transgender operations all over the place,
packed,
with men playing in women's system, and it's a corrupt.
I don't know if it's thousands. Yeah, I don't know if thousands is plural. It's 100K at least, 55K. It's 55,000 for sure. Yeah, I don't know if it's plural thousands. This was in, what did they say? It was in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. Where's Westmoreland County? Is that near the suburbs? Where are we at? Might be 15 people. Yeah, 500 seems like maybe a little over 500, but it's not thousands. Oh, that's Latrobe? Okay, so outside of Pittsburgh. Perfect. All right, let me check messages one more time. Went a little early. It's okay. We didn't hit the gift goal today, but that's on me. I'll get yelled at by Jen later, but that's on me for ending early. I thought I had more content than I did. Charles says, "What do you think Fox News will say or report on when Trump loses? Will they still support him and MAGA?" Look, they're going to take the temperature just like everybody else is. If Trump loses, everybody in the GOP is just going to sit around and wait to take the temperature. There will be a few that make a move early to try, like I would imagine Ted Cruz, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, those people who think they're going to run for president. I would see them maybe stepping forward tepidly, but I think mostly people are going to wait around to see what Trump tells them to say. That's what they did. They all learned from that mistake last time. Some of them came out against him in after January 6th, and they either lost their jobs or they had to come crying back to him, groveling. So not sure. Let's see. Shane, I see you, but I'm just doing opposition today though, Shane. Cameron, oh, I got that one already. Cameron's got into the sexual harassment today. I appreciate that, Cameron. It's coming from more directions. Never mind. Jessica said, "Are you debating tonight?" I'm not. I don't know if I'm debating at all this week. I will say this: if there's somebody who wants to host and not do a panel, I'm open to the idea of debating. I don't like hosting because I like that I can still prepare the outline while I'm waiting for debates. So if somebody if somebody wants to host debates, let me know. I may be interested or talk to Jen about it. Making sure Jen got all those comments. All right, let's raid Jones. Jeff's live, probably not this week. Jeff's in Mexico, and he only has enough Wi-Fi for for older millennial. We learned. I will also. We may stream Kamala's town hall tonight. We'll see. If I can find somebody to watch my daughter for an hour, we may stream the town hall. So stay tuned to the Discord. Otherwise, just turn your notifications on and get there early because the notifications will turn off because we'll get flagged on that one for reproduced content. Audrey says, "Pretty please show Obama in Detroit last night with Eminem." All right, fine. I'll take requests. Now the donation line has become the request line. Let me do that. Obama, Detroit, Eminem. What do you want to see? You want to see Eminem's endorsement, or what do we want to see there? Let me switch this screen. Gotta adjust this. I made it so that you could see the last one, and now it's all too big. There we go. All right, here's Obama. We want to see it all. Shut up, Kyle.
I gotta say, I have done a lot of rallies, so I don't usually get nervous. But I was feeling some kind of way following Eminem. I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
I just want to say, who did it better? Now let's see who did it better. Who did it better? Where is it?
His mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. Oh, he won't laugh it. He knows his own backs and his own.
He's doing his offbeat. You can't quite find the beat. Nobody gives a shit. That's Vivek. If any of you are wondering, that is Vivek rapping at the Iowa State Fair, getting absolutely no reaction. He went, if you do karaoke, don't karaoke Eminem. Don't do it. Do it the way that Obama did it. Don't do it that way. But that's Vivek just getting, do you remember his, when he like made up a rap? His freestyle rap? Let's see. Where is Vivek's freestyle? That's a bird's eye view. Yeah, I'll try and maybe I'll play it tomorrow. But Vivek at one point had a pretty sweet freestyle where he rhymed campaign trail with campaign trail. It's really, really impressive stuff. That's what we're doing tomorrow. It's strictly Vivek rap covers all day tomorrow. John says, for showing up every day. Thank you, John. Grammar Hole says, early voted yesterday. Couldn't get my mom to vote for Kamala, but she didn't vote for Trump either. Hey, that's progress. It's the hardest part for me with my friends that like are off the Trump train. Like they haven't quite left like the cult yet, so they still think that Kamala is a terrible person. And it's hard because you want to be like, good job leaving Trump, but also this is part of it. Like, keep going. The things that you hate about her aren't true. Remember how he lied about everything else? He lied about her too. All the stuff that you found out was lies. The stuff they said about others also lies. Denise, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate that. Actually, we are pretty close on that. Appreciate that, guys. All right. I don't know if there was anything else. Is there anything else we needed to cover today that you guys can think of? Is there anything I didn't cover today that we needed to cover? Everything about Hillary was a lie. Yeah, facts. Except for they did do a pretty shit that land deal that they did in Arkansas wasn't great. That wasn't great. Do I know Parappa the rapper? He's Vivek the fake. I don't. Do you use Target Smart? He has model party option for early voting. No, send that to me. Did you go over the Vanessa Guillen story? I think I saw that this morning. Vanessa Guillen saying like their family doesn't want the name being used. Is that what you're talking about? Did you talk about early voting to save resources for the campaign? No, I didn't. I think they probably have plenty of money. Trump didn't pay. Oh, yeah. The funeral. No, I'll cover that tomorrow. Yeah, I'll cover the Vanessa Guillen one tomorrow. We'll do that. Let me check one more last time. And then once again, we're going to raid Mr. Jones. Moderators, can you pin, just in case somebody doesn't know who Mr. Jones is? And if you don't know who Mr. Jones is, what the fuck are you doing? Mods, will you just pin his username? Got all those. Thank you, Jen. All right, that's all I've got today. We'll get back tomorrow. We'll do another 20 or 30 of these. I'll have more stories so it fills up the entire time. I appreciate you guys' support for being here. Go raid Jones. Have a good day. Take care of yourselves. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I like interacting there. You can get the replays of this show and every other one of our shows on YouTube at RTP-Talks. If you'd like to join the Discord, shoot me or any of the moderators a message, a DM, a direct message on TikTok. And we will get you a link to the Discord. And I think I did them. I think I did them all.